right, guys, we are back for another installment of the Slot One Super Podcast. And here it's episode 30. That's 30 weeks, dude. 30 weeks
Nice.
is
That's
a
crazy.
long time. Wow,
That
episode
is a long
30.
time.
And and anyone who's coming by and supporting the show, thank you very, very much. We all appreciate it. Me and my wonderful two other hosts, the Mask, Ningen, and Dokkan Assets. Say hello, y'all. We're gonna have a good time. Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna have a good time because it's World Tournament time, baby.
Dude, I'm literally playing it right now. It's crazy. Like, not gonna lie, just a quick preface. I was playing it, and then I got to like 11 mil, and I'm like, I don't even care about getting 2 peel-offs anymore, man. I'll just get my 1 peel-off. I didn't want to. I don't even care anymore. Like no one's gonna come to me and be like, oh, I can't wait to watch the Minato Flash Showcase on LR Peel-Off Rainbow. Like, you know.
I was looking forward to that with that. No.
No. But
Yeah, no, I'm gonna
anyways,
click off that video. If I see a 90%, I'm clicking off that video.
No. Yeah, Peel-Off Trio kind of seemed cool. And again, this is the first time they're on global, so it's a very competitive, space right now.
It's
Even
weird.
on GP.
Right, I really thought that this World Tournament was going to be really, well, not really sweaty, but like more so than the last one because it's the first one where Pilaf is the reward. But it honestly seems really slow. I haven't been going ham anywhere near as much as I have done before in the first day. I've got, what my at points wise? I've got 38 million points, which is not crazy for the first day. I mean, I've obviously done all the missions and stuff, but I'm in the top 700, which isn't obviously like insane, but like I'd be nowhere near. And I'm like number 1 in my local by a pretty significant amount as well. So I'll take it.
Number 1 in my local has like 105 million points right now or something.
Sheesh.
Check. No,
That's like
he's at
3
100
times what I've got.
He's at 110 mil. I think that's like top 200 in GP right now or something like
Crazy.
that. Literally, take a look here. In fact, he is top 100 in GP. So again, I don't really care about much about getting top 1 local anymore.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, y'all, it's like you can get like top 20 and then get peel off. Right,
I think it's like top 150 local or something gets you 1
really?
copy. Yeah, it's loads.
Yeah.
So
There you go. And then it's like you only need 30
Yeah,
to
it is
get
top 150,
points
yeah.
anyways.
yeah.
I mean, ideally top 2K, but we'll talk about this more. Funny enough, that kind of talk is like scheduled for like near the end of the podcast. We're talking about it now.
World Tournament, it's just so infectious.
Well,
How can you
World
not
Tournament
love
is
World
so
Tournament?
good. We
Exactly.
love World Tournament. But let's hop right into the things that came out earlier this week. There was actually a lot of stuff that happened the past week.
Yeah.
Last week we talked about this a little bit because we got the Dokkan out, but earlier on a Monday, the new Dokkan Festival Tech Super Saiyan Vegeta officially released, and we're all able to use them in game and all the difficult content that's available. This guy put up the Cell Juniors by accident. We'll talk about them too later.
Bro,
But,
expose them. Why would you do
It's because they're all layered, and I forgot to make that one invisible.
This guy's
crazy.
crazy. But Ningen, since you're the spotlight right now for that little mistake, and you're a Vegeta fan, I'll let you talk about what you think about the Tech Vegeta overall, and let us know kind of what he does.
Yes, I did it on purpose to get the spotlight over here. No, so but yeah, no, Vegeta is super, super good. I think we kind of knew when we saw his kit that he was going to be good. It's funny because I think the biggest interesting thing to talk about for him is the huge difference between his team and just how he's situated in the game between JP and Global. Because I feel like Global is in this really rough patch at the moment because it kind of happened with 21, the Super Saiyan Trio. I mean, it happened with Rose. It's like these new exciting units come out, and then as a global player, it's like, well, what do I have to do with my new shiny Vegeta? I can go and do Zamasu and Omega for like the 50 millionth time. So as a global player, I am aching for the anniversary content to come out. So I've got more events to try these guys out in. But the good thing is, of course, that considering that meta, a lot of people did not like it, of course, going through the Zamasu and Dismal Future Red Zone meta. Vegeta is very, very good against Zamasu and Omega. I mean, he's by far the best TUR on global. He's kind of, I've seen a lot of people refer to him as like, he's basically kind of like the second coming of Tech Ultimate Gohan, right? Because he has guard, he's stacking, he also has damage reduction. He's not exactly the same, but he's in that similar sort of thing where on release, he's so strong defensively, like he just goes in slot 1, he can tank everything. Even at 55%, like after taking those 3 hits in his base form, he can get up to like 1 million defense easily by his like second or third appearance. He's just really, really good. I'm actually genuinely impressed with the King Vegeta banner unit. I know we could talk about him a little bit more as well. But yeah, I think Vegeta's cool. His team definitely needs those anniversary buffs, I think, in order to be really top tier. Because you've got like Broly. I think Gogeta doesn't get his 200%, but is obviously on his team. But like Broly and the STR Goku and Vegeta that fuse into Vegeta, are both on his 200% leader skill, and obviously make that team significantly better. We do have Kefla, who does only get his 170 lead, but she's cracked even on a 170 team, so she's good. But yeah, Vegeta's super fun, but we really need some new, fresh, like better content to kind of sink our teeth into with him to be really enjoying him. But he's super good.
I was actually a little surprised that we did not get difficult content for this. I feel like it's pretty like likely, but we just actually did not, which I guess is fair, right?
Actually, there is something I remembered earlier. Do you remember when they did the teaser, like the Dokkan Now thing? They said about like, we'll talk about the Saiyan Day unit, and then they said like some new event with like special rewards or something. What were they? Were they just talking about the Super Easy A? Like, what were they talking about?
No, he was talking about the little ball game that he did, where he threw the ball.
I was gonna say it better not have just been that. That's so.
I think
the special game.
I do remember though. Like now that you're saying that, I think in that moment he was referring to the funny ball game, but I do like vaguely remember them saying like there's gonna be some other content that like hasn't come out yet.
No,
that they're gonna like announce
later.
later.
Announce, like the Super Vegeta EZAs and the Sub EZAs and the World Tournament.
I guess I don't know. That doesn't seem like hype worthy enough to mention like that.
Well, that's why they didn't mention. Also, I would say STR Super Vegeta is pretty hype.
Wow. We'll talk about him. I mean,
I'm talking about his announcement.
Yes, that was hype. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. When the announcements more hype than the EZA. But,
It'd be like that sometimes.
But okay, so Tech Vegeta, I'll talk about him a little. As a GP perspective, I think he's pretty good. And, seeing him compared to like the first one, Frieza, I think that, you could tell these new two wars are definitely on a pretty like good tier of power. I like Vegeta a lot better than Frieza personally. Frieza just needs like a little setup, for comparing like post 9th anniversary TURs. But Vegeta, I think even on GP, he's definitely like the best TUR. I mean, could you argue Kefla above him? I would say no. Kefla's probably like, for even counting EZAs, Kefla's like the second best TUR, but Vegeta is like at the top. I think it's pretty clear, which is good because I think last time we got a Dokkan Festival Vegeta was Saiyan Day of 2022 with Majin Vegeta. So it's been a very, very, very long time, and I think Vegeta was I can't speak disrespected for a little bit, right? And this Tech Vegeta, I do like, easy conditions, very simple to use. However, I see people saying like, oh, he's gonna be like the new Tech Gohan. And it's like, I don't think so. Actually, funny enough, on paper you would look at him and be like, oh yeah, for sure he's a stacking guard unit, but he has a reduction this time, which is like, kind of different. And he has all these additional supers. One thing I don't like, and I think that is going to affect him in the future in terms of aging, is the HP condition he has. So in terms of his passive, he gets the 150% attack when attacking and 150% defense when receiving an attack, but that's like depending on your HP level. So, and it's a pretty big number, so it'll scale pretty highly. And what's gonna happen is when this guy is not going to be good enough to be ran in slot 1 or slot 2 anymore, and his stats aren't going to be good enough compared to other characters, especially, you're going to put him in that like second or third slot, but then you get hit with a super attack for like 400k in slot 1, and this guy loses like a good chunk or potentially even over half of his passive, which makes him even weaker. So if he wasn't good enough to be in slot 1 anymore in base form, while being with his full passive, then imagine that without like 100% of those stats that he would get. So I think aging process might be potentially a little tough for this Vegeta, depending on like, especially if we move back to short, difficult content, right? I mean, this guy is a stacker in the first place as well. That's the only thing I would say. It's like if you're gonna be like, oh, he's gonna be like the new Tech Gohan, or he's gonna age forever. I wouldn't have that expectation for him, but he's probably gonna age pretty well if they keep designing content in a good way, like they did during the 9th anniversary. And I think he's fun. He's very, very fun. Super Saiyan Vegeta, I do like quite a bit. I like the disable enemy action, all the super attacks. Him getting stronger as the enemies lower HP. This guy is actually pretty good for the Cell Max fight as well, because he has that seal in the super attack. And on global, you look at the seal and you're like, oh, the seal's useless. What did I do here? But, JP will have the Cell Max fight, and after on turn 4, you could seal Cell Max. So it'll be a little.
That is
like,
true.
It'll be a little rough, like at the very first few turns for this Vegeta. But if you get to turn 4 with him, and you're able to seal Cell Max just permanently, if you have 2 Vegetas, you can keep them sealed for the rest of the fight, and then you're just like 100% good, and you don't even have to worry about anything from there. Which is really awesome. I think this Vegeta actually is a really nice character for that Cell Max fight. And as you lower his HP, you'll get stronger and stronger, and since it's a one-phase fight, you'll be able to take advantage of that quite well. So I like this Gogeta fight specifically. He does well. Beast Gohan fight, he does well. Sword Hope Trunks fight, he does well. I think it's cool. So big fan of this guy, and I think he's pretty sick. So I mean, we talked about his animations a little bit last time, Dokkan.
Yeah.
But you're the animations kind of guy. But if you have any thoughts on those, maybe change your mind on some things, or just even his kit if you use them. What do you think?
Well, so I have not used them because I only did 2 multis, and funny enough, I just wanted a God Goku dupe. But
God Goku
the GOAT. How could I not? Say it again.
I said God Goku mention every episode.
Yeah, exactly. God Goku mention. Yes, sir. Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't actually pull God Goku, but I did get King Vegeta, so I guess that's pretty cool. Shout out to Toonami, of course, but when it comes down to it, I mean, yeah, I still think that like right now, right, it's obviously not really like fair to say this because obviously we're only in like the end of March in terms of like the animations that we have at the moment. I think he's probably like the second worst that we have at the moment, but again, right, it's like there's not a big like number to take from for how many people that there are to put on the list. I definitely don't think that he's as bad as Rose when it comes to the animation department, and I think it is kind of interesting because like there's also I feel like I've seen people on both sides. There's been a lot of people saying that like what I think is like how good his animations are. I feel like there's been people saying that they're better than I would personally put them at, and I feel like there's also been people saying that they're worse than I would put them at, which is kind of interesting. Because even I feel like at this point, like it's notorious that I'm the meme that I hate every animation in the game, which is definitely not true. But
maybe you just don't like the game, buddy.
Yeah, bro. Listen, I would definitely I hate the game, and I'm sitting here on a podcast about it, of course. But obviously, it's just because I care, right? Is the reason why I'm so critical about it. But I do think that they could have been better, right? I still really like the active skill, honestly. I still think it's pretty cool. But I think that there's definitely opportunity for some more good stuff to come. Because obviously, we've seen like we've seen like very extreme highs and very extreme lows this year, I feel like, which is really interesting that I feel like there hasn't been as much like in the middle so far. So I don't know. We'll see. It's like they got the A team on it and then they got the Z team on it. I don't know.
I mean, I think the animations look kind of cool in a lot of situations, and I'm not someone who's like really like like I know like you and like a lot of these other people on Twitter could like see like an animation, be like, "That's a new animator," or like, "Oh, that's this guy's style," or
Or a
when
new
people
asset or something. Yeah.
like I can maybe recognize like new. Well, I can see the new assets, I think, because I pay attention to a lot of that, but like the assets specifically, but I think it's more like the art style and the fluidity and everything like that you guys like really analyze. And for me, I'm just like looking at it in 2x speed. I'm like, ooh, big flashing colors. Looks good, So
that is true.
That's one thing, and I think that's where there's the differences between like how some people may perceive it and how other people be paying more attention to it. And at the end of the day, I think they look pretty nice, for what I would expect for a TUR Dokkan Fest. Because at the end of the day, this is a monthly Dokkan Fest. It's a same day character, but I think a little more like stuff is put into it, like compared to like let's say other characters. But I think with the source material they had to work with and everything, looks pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem with it is just that, like, for me, it's also a lot of the time it's also like, even if the animation itself isn't necessarily like the worst thing to ever grace my eyeballs, it's also like a sake of comparison as well in terms of like what came around it and what came before it. Because if we're talking about like Frieza, who came right before him, Frieza's animations are like leagues and bounds better than Vegeta's, in my opinion. And not to mention,
feels so good.
Yeah, his active skill is really good. And not to mention, right, the one I would say God Goku's animations clear Vegeta's like no questions asked, and that's a unit from a whole year ago, right? And, when it comes to Saiyan Day.
I 100% get that, and then it's like I think it's a point you could bring up where it's like, but that was a whole Dragon Ball Z movie that they produced.
That's
and
true.
Then this is like a weekly anime that they had going on. I think Dragon Ball Z was weekly anime, was it not?
I believe at a time, I think it was. Yeah, at one point in its life.
I don't even think I was like born at that time, so I wouldn't.
Yeah, no, I was not.
But like, if it was like a weekly anime, then it's like there's gonna be a lot more, like I guess constraints on that.
I don't know. I think though, like that doesn't matter as much to an extent, because there are definitely like times where I've seen that they've taken like scenes from the anime and they've like or they've made them even better than the anime, or it was just like something that was really good. Because there's even been cards like where it's been a movie that you would think like, oh yeah, well basically all the movies animation is so good, and then sometimes it looks a little stinky. So I think it depends on if the animators got enough sleep that night in Dokkan Studios. I don't know.
That's fair.
They just pick and choose. But either way though, yeah, I think it will be interesting though to see what else we get this year. Because funny enough, I know a lot of people were talking about it, and I think we did mention it last time, but it's so funny that even people are like, yeah, King Vegeta's animations are better than Vegeta's animation, and I was like, dang, the people's eyes are opening. So,
yeah, I see what you mean there.
It was very interesting.
But yeah, personally, I didn't like the KO screen for that guy, but I kind of grown it a little. I think it's fine.
That's fair,
because I think like people are saying like it kind of has more personality to him. Like we kind of see that.
But... Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. It's so funny. That's the thing that I feel like I've seen people complain about the most, and I think that was one of the things I had like the least amount of problems with, which is kind of funny. But anyway, yeah, no.
We also do have the banner unit. I think we should.
Yes, King Vegeta himself, speaking of the man, which is very cool, honestly, that obviously we finally got a decent King Vegeta unit. It's been a long time coming, I feel like. And even so, even with this guy, right, there's still they could easily do that scene where he's like standing out in space and then he like blows up all the planets.
I'm surprised they didn't give him that, because that's one of the only, like whenever you see anyone talking about King, like let's be fair, it's mainly Toon, but when you see people talking about King Vegeta, like King Vegeta for Saiyan Day, all that kind of stuff, it's that same gif of him in that pose where he does the planets, thing. I'm really surprised that we finally got a new King Vegeta and they didn't get that. Yeah,
honestly, that would be cool. I mean, I don't know though, because like King Vegeta's in such a weird spot as a character, because it's like I feel like people like him and care about him to an extent, but it's also like the kind of thing where it's like, well, you know, he was in what, like 3 episodes or something like that, you know, and then like the Bardock special. I don't remember if he was in.
Even
I swear he was
shown in the original manga, like ever.
I don't
know.
Remember.
I don't think so, right? I don't think it was ever shown because we only saw like Bardock once, and that's when Frieza first saw Goku, and it was like not even its own like panel. It was like, you know, shaded into an existing panel or something, right?
Right.
Or it might have been like its own little mini panel, but I don't think we ever saw King Vegeta in the manga.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So that's
which is kind of funny, honestly. But like, you know, I don't know. I feel like his, you know, he's just in like kind of a weird place as like a character because it's like it's one of those characters that should feel important, but like really isn't. You know, like he's the king of the Saiyans, right? Like, you know, you would think that like a character like that would be really important in like the lore and the story and, you know, the history of Dragon Ball, but like
nope,
he's just kind of there. You know, I mean, like, I guess to be fair, you know, I don't know. It's like he, you know, he has like Dragon Ball Super Broly, right? And obviously OG Z Broly as well, where, you know, he's like, Paragus, take your son and get out of here. You know, and like in, you know, obviously talking about like modern Dragon Ball as well. Of course, there's, in Battle of Gods when, you know, like Beerus sees Vegeta. When he sees Beerus and then he's like, oh my gosh, that guy was clowning on my dad, you know, and there's like the flashback to that. So I don't know. It's just he's in such a weird place. But so I think in that regard, right, it's good that he's a side banner unit. But I don't know. I definitely think that like he could easily get some kind of like bigger unit, especially with that animation. I don't know. Maybe you know it would be really cool. And this was
LR Vegeta saying LR King Vegeta saying army.
Bro, see that or a duo card of King Vegeta and Vegeta. That would be awesome. See, you know what they should do for a celebration that would be absolutely fire? They should do a Bardock and Goku and a King Vegeta and Vegeta. Oh, that would be a sick duel.
Cool. No, you know what they should do? I mean, no one would care about the other ones, but they should do a Bardock, Goku, and Raditz, and then a King Vegeta, and Tarbell card.
Oh, actually, that's a fire idea, though. I'm not gonna lie.
Kamehameha and Family Garlic Gun.
Yeah,
dude, that would be so cool.
Actually, Bardock doesn't do the Kamehameha, but whatever.
That's fine. Well, yeah, to be fair, his like the attack that he does against Frieza is blue, right? So he can just like pretend it's a Kamehameha. You know, it's blue energy. You know, it'll work. It'll be fun.
Goku family special, but
the Goku family special.
It's cool.
Talking about this King Vegeta specifically in terms of his kit, though.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's what you're gonna follow up with.
Oh no, listen.
Yeah, but I was just gonna say, like, it's cool. It's cool for him to get the side banner unit, and it's cool that he's actually good as well, because obviously he's exactly what you want a side banner unit to be, in that he's good for the main unit's team. You know, he's on Vegeta Family, but he's supporting Vegeta Family and Pure Saiyan. So if you're building Vegeta's team with a bunch of Super Saiyan characters on it that are Pure Saiyans, he's supporting them as well. I had mine. I can't remember if I'd fed the dupes in. I don't know if he was Rainbow already at that point, but I had mine tank a super from Infusion Zamasu for double-digit damage, which I thought was pretty good, considering he's just basically there to be a floating support unit. So yeah, I think he's very, very good for a support character for a side banner unit. Of course, I got reverse luck. I went through a whole period last year where I kept pulling the main unit off of the banner, but not being able to pull the side banner unit. And this year for Saiyan Day, it was reversed, and I rainbowed King Vegeta, but I've only pulled 2 copies of the Tech Vegeta. So. But yeah, he's really good. I'm glad that he turned out to be a good unit. He's really solid for the team. He's not great against AoEs, which again is just a global problem, because it means whilst he is really good on Vegeta's team, it's difficult to use him against like something like Omega, because the AoEs from like in Omega, he's not great against those at all. But yeah, other than that, he's good. Yeah, solid unit. Definitely happy with his... that's what we want to see, right? We don't want these banner units where they just don't go with the character. Because even units like the one that springs to mind is like Kale having Frost as a side banner character.
What do you mean? That was perfect.
He's on her team, and they do have, I think it's like Fierce Battle, Tournament of Power, and then I think like Warriors of Universe 6, but he doesn't work with a lot of the characters that she wants to be run with, like all the different Khaliflas that want you to have the Peppy Gals characters. Whereas this guy is like, I think he shares 6 out of 7 links with the Vegeta, so he's just perfect to run on his team. Or like while the Vegeta's in base, it's like 6 links. And yeah, he just works perfectly with him. So I think he's really good. I think they did a great job. So yeah, STR Krillin exists, but even then in that same celebration, like TN for the other banner is like, I mean, he was okay on release, but yeah, this guy is what we want to see. We want a banner unit that supports the main unit that comes out, that if you pull them, it's like an extra bonus and not, you know, the good example for going back to what Minato said about the last Vegeta for Saiyan Day was when we got his banner unit for Majin Vegeta was that STR Goten and Trunks, and they were not good. And then, yeah, they were a unit that had Trunks in the name for Vegeta, but they weren't a Vegeta family unit because it was Goten and Trunks. So, yeah, weird. Whereas they did a much better job this time. So, definitely happy with this guy.
And the year before with the Battle Gods Vegeta.
Yeah.
It's worked out pretty well.
So yeah, definitely happy with these guys.
I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's just because I don't know if that's like an old Dokkan thing and they're still kind of stuck in that mindset, but I swear, like, I don't know, it wouldn't definitely like break some teams in terms of balance, but I feel like sometimes they should just do that anyway, where it's like put a category on a character that would really help them, but like they're on it because they're a duo card, but they're technically not on it because the other character like knocks them off of the category. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like they should just do it just because it would make the character better.
I mean, they should, but they don't want to. So
yeah,
at the end of the day, I'm just like, I've accepted the fate where it is what it is, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, daily login and GP, that's cool. But besides that, the King Vegeta seems good. I think, you know, I use him in difficult content, like the Cell Max fight and everything like that. I think he works out pretty nicely, so that's awesome. I'm a fan of the King Vegeta banner unit, which is nice, right? Pretty cool. That's everything there with the King Vegeta, though. He's really just supporting the Vegeta. One thing I want to point out, since people were confused and people actually didn't know this, keep in mind the Pure Saiyans and Vegeta's family support buff that does stack together. So if you're in both categories, he provides it twice essentially. So for Pure Saiyan and Vegeta family units such as King Vegeta or any other Vegeta, he provides 60% attack and defense and 36% crit chance. So that's really good. The reason why is because it says Pure Saiyans and Vegeta's family, not Pure Saiyans or Vegeta's family. That's the difference in whether or not it stacks. So just keep that in mind now.
Yeah.
Next we do have some sub EZA, or actually no, not sub EZA, super EZAs, my bad. Specifically one, I guess.
I was gonna say some super EZAs.
Yeah.
Yo,
we do
we're cooking already.
I mean, I guess we're gonna get more eventually, but we do have the first super EZA, AGL Super Saiyan 3 Goku.
Yes, sir.
Now, I'll take the opportunity to talk about him because I think in my opinion, it feels like they designed him, I think, pretty nicely. I think he is good overall. I've seen a lot of people when his details first came out, and well, I guess when people did the math for his details, and they're like, "Oh, it doesn't really look like it's gonna be good enough or anything like that." And I took him into Beast Gohan and the Cell Max fights. I think those fights are fights that he could look pretty nice in, and he did pretty nice. I did like what I saw with this AGL Super Saiyan 3 Goku. I mean, I think he's fantastic for the Cell Max fight. He's guaranteed critting the first turn. He can triple super. For me, he was doing like 15 to 16 mil with support. Without that, it's still like 14, 15 mil or so, right? And he was able to live a Cell Max super attack, right? He ate the super attack for about, I think it was like 550k or so, or 500k, but he lived the Cell Max super, which makes sense because he's type advantage. He had about like 1.3 mil defense after he supers or so. So with that in mind, he could live a Cell Max super with a 30% chance dodge. This guy is actually going to be like a pretty helpful fight for that Cell Max fight. Or pretty helpful option for the Cell Max fight, especially when, you know, Global later gets that Cell Max fight when the anniversary comes around. This guy, I think I could see a lot of people get use for him. My only thing is that there's two things I would change about this guy. I think I would add at least like raising attack for the turn on super attack. I know it's like very minimal, but like just make let's change the super attack effect in some way. Or what if we greatly lowered attack and then like great lower attack and defense, and then that would be working against the Sal Max fight, and you could like debuff there with like triple supers with this guy early on. I think that could be pretty
That
cool.
would be cool.
Or on top of that, make his dodge just a flat 50% rather than 60% before attacking and 30% after, because you're very rarely going to put this guy in slot one anyways, since he gets a good chunk of his stats when he actually does attack. You know, he goes from like 700k defense to like 1.3 mil defense after he attacks. That's how much of a difference it is, and there are just going to be better slot one options regardless. So that's only my critique, but I feel like maybe that was put in mind for global players, which is why, you know, he has a dodge only before he attacks, like the extra chance for like these AoEs that global is still in that AoE.
Yeah, it makes him good for those events, because you don't necessarily want to run him slot one, but having the 60% chance to dodge an AoE is pretty nice. And then he gets that buff as well, doesn't he? Is it 3 turns?
So he gets a 3-turn defense buff and a high chance to crit. So it is 150% extra defense.
Yeah, it's very noticeable. It's like if you get a dodge, then at the start of the next turn, I think mine was at like 850k defense or something like that. So he's easily eating like all normals in the game at that point. And then like you said, he drops decent attack stats. The big problem with him, again, unfortunately, from the global perspective, is that with the content that we have available at the moment, the teams that he's on are not particularly the best when it comes to like the 200% leads.
Because I just ran him under the 9th anniversary Gogeta's team, flat 200% movie heroes. Or you like on GP, you could use the Dragon Fist Super Saiyan 3 Goku.
Yep, true. Whereas for global, you've got like it's AGL Kai Goku, which, I mean, that's fine. You can make a team of a bunch of Gokus, but they don't link particularly well together. Then you've got the Buu duo, who can still be good, but they're just not good against like Fusion Zamasu, or potentially Omega. I mean, they can build up by the time they get there, but then they could also get caught by Omega, they can get caught by the STR phase. It depends when you can get their standby. They can still be good. And then otherwise you have units that like in LR Super Saiyan 4 Goku, who can be okay in the worldwide celebration content sometimes, because he got really shown up. He got shown up by that content, but he kind of makes a bit of a bounce back with some of the anniversary content, but we don't have that.
Kind of, but that's a whole other discussion.
But that's the thing, it's a lot easier to get, like, by the time you get to the difficult parts of the anniversary content, it's a lot easier to have full power Goku out by then, whereas obviously worldwide celebration, you put him in slot 1 and then the enemy slot 1 supers, and it doesn't go well for him. But
slot 1 super podcast, shut up.
But then the problem is, like, even with that team, is Goku ideally on his team, if you're running LR Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and you're running double of them, you want them on rotation. So then you want a partner for him that has some of those better links like Saiyan Raw. So then if you're going to run this Goku on his team, you're going to be floating him, which is not the worst thing. He's actually quite good as a 3rd slot floater. But that was the problem I had when it came to like, okay, I want to do a showcase for him against Zamasu. So I want him to be on rotation. And then it's like, all the options that I have to run with him are not particularly great.
I probably would have ran Yamcha's team. We could get Bulma on there. We could get other 3 characters maybe or something, right?
Yeah.
Like Yamcha's team actually probably would have been what I chose to run. And that would have probably worked out well. He's on Super Trunks' team though,
Yeah, Super Trunks is another great one for Fusion Zamasu, right, guys?
For sure. Yes, sir. He's the GOAT.
Just use the Ghost Usher. Come on, easy like that. But
just use a Ghost Usher every turn. It's fine.
I can see the issue there, but I can see this guy working well in the Omega fight a little bit. It's just that by the end, his passive may run out, which could be a little scary because that's where the fight is the hardest, and that's why I'm like, I didn't take this guy into Gogeta. I didn't even care. I'm like, I just don't think this guy will perform well in Gogeta. Like his passive will run out in the tech phase, and then he's kind of like a sitting duck. Like he's gonna be hit by like freaking 1.3 mil normals or something. And it's like, oh, ouch, and I die, and you die, right? So I never took.
I'm gonna die. Thank you forever.
But I think again, like Beast Gohan, Cell Max, the Sword Hope Trunks fight, like those fights are like kind of more medium length, which is funny because those fights you can look on Glow and you can consider those like longer fights. Because like in Fusions of Moscow lasts like 3-4 turns, and then
dude,
last, like
I was taking even with Vegeta's team. If you bring some of the better units for his team, like you can obviously get caught out with some of them because of the AoEs and stuff. But yeah, so especially some of the harder hitting units or even good physical units, like you can easily beat the entire Fusions of Masu event in like 3 or 4 turns, which is great for units like this guy. But not great for some of those other units that we've mentioned that are just really not wanting to be in 3 to 4 turn fights like Super Trunks and stuff like that. Right. So,
I mean, that's the thing, because like with the Super Saiyan 3 Goku, it's like again 5 turns he does lose the 150% attack and defense, which does hurts. But I think that's like kind of where it is. You can probably get away with 1 extra turn if that's the turn you're finishing the fight off on. Or again, if it's like a fight like Cell Max, where at that point he's going to be able to be sealed, attack lord, stuns, and then it doesn't matter when his passive runs out. So I actually do think that this guy was made in mind with the Cell Max fight. I just really wish they upgraded his super attack effects.
Yeah.
But again, when that fight comes on in Global, I think you guys will really see that, right? There are missions to, like, you want to run a super class team, so if you don't have a good AGL option, you could work out.
Sounds good.
Yeah, but overall, I think it's a W. I would say bare minimum, he's probably, like, if we're going to rank him, like, because me personally, I'm probably going to have a easy tier list next week, because I'm going to wait for Super Vegeta to come out, and I'm going to rank this guy actually with the other Easy A characters, because I just don't see like the difference, since he's the only one anyways. Right?
No, Minato, we need the Super Easy A tier list short.
Bro, please, I am begging you, make a tweet about it at least, because that would be so funny.
Yeah, I could, if I really wanted to, I could stretch out like a 10-minute.
No, I'm gonna let me do it right now. I'm gonna post it on the Slot One Super Podcast Twitter. Super Easy A tier list. Make the tier maker, and it just says 1 AGL Goku, and then that's it.
No, just put them at 2. Just put them at 2. And there's no one.
Just take a screenshot. Yeah, just cut that bit where it's just like 2 and then him.
It's like 1, 2. But yeah. But yeah, I think this guy's cool. So I'm maybe that could be a funny. Oh, it could be a short, like a funny little short.
Yeah, so I mean,
that's a good idea for
short.
sure.
But yeah, no, he's well, the thing I wanted to ask you guys, because obviously we've got him in the game now, we've used him a little bit. Obviously, he's an older unit, so it's not like he has new things to talk about in terms of his animations and stuff like that. But what I wanted to talk to you guys about is, what do you think about the implementation of the Super Easy A? Obviously, it's an extra difficulty stage. It's the same stage that you play multiple times, but they added in a bunch of missions. So I think in total, if you do all the missions, you just have to play the stage 5 times. But they also changed the restrictions. That was one of the things I wasn't sure what they would do. Is Resurrected Warriors is still the bonus category. But when you look at the normal Easy A, you have the thing where it's like when you go past stage 20, it's like physical STR and something else. Yeah, like can't do damage. They just took all of that off. And although it's still Resurrected Warriors, the only other bonus thing is like Easy A characters do more damage. So Theo, I don't know if you've done the actual stages in the game.
I have, yeah.
Because I know you didn't get a chance to talk about the units kit much, but how did you find the actual Super Easy A stage, Theo?
So honestly, like obviously now that we know how it works and we've played it in game, first of all, it was like I wasn't expecting it to be like incredibly difficult or anything like, and just like insane difficulty spike, but it was basically like, dog, I just had the team that, obviously fit the requirements for the missions, which was a bunch of like Frieza Force and cooler characters, and just hit auto. Like, it, it was definitely not difficult whatsoever. I think the only mission that I like didn't get was like the one where you get 2 stones for clearing it in like 2 minutes, 30 seconds or something, because I, just did it on auto and then was done. But I don't know. I'm like, it's weird because it's like I like it, but I'm also kind of a little disappointed by it, to be honest. Because I wanted it to be like, okay, I didn't want it to be like 30 stages again. Like, definitely don't get that twisted, right? Because obviously I think that's a little much. But, I would have definitely liked it to be like a little bit longer or like multiple stages. Like, obviously you play the stage multiple times, but I think it would have been cool if they would have had multiple stages as a part of it that you could actually like play rather than just one, or maybe like even like 3, right? Like even 3 stages that would have just gotten like a little bit more difficult as the fights went on or something like that. I think would have been cool. Overall, I don't think it's too bad, right? I think it's nice that because I know one thing that some people were worried about when they announced how this was going to work was that like, oh well, will some people not be able to do the missions because the missions will be too restrictive for certain people? And I guess unless you're like obviously like a brand new player, right, then maybe it might be a little bit difficult. But like, I think for the most part, at least from like the precedent that the missions have set up until this point, it seems like that the missions will be pretty accessible to everybody. So that I do like that aspect of it. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't want it to be, impossible or anything like that. But I was definitely kind of hoping that, I don't know, it would just be a little bit more in terms of like what you actually have to like play for it. So
I'm glad it's not. I'm glad I can get it done in like 10 minutes.
in like 5 seconds.
Showcase right out instantly,
That's fair. I mean, I don't think what's there is like bad necessarily, right? It's one of those things where it's like what we have is not a bad thing. I think it's just what could be there is what like kind of makes me be like, I wish that there was a little bit more to it. So I don't know. I do understand from the content creator standpoint, obviously. It's like, yeah, all right, quickie, done. Time to showcase.
30 DCAs take like 40 minutes to an hour. God, it's so annoying. Please.
That's what's so great about it, is even though it's like you play the stage 5 times, so it's essentially as if the Super Easy A is 5 stages, right? Which makes it even half the time of an LR Easy A, so it's great.
Right, which is crazy, honestly.
What I would say is, Ningen, you said that Extreme Z Awakened characters do extra damage. Is that something that was said in the global version? I never saw anything about that.
It's the thing. If you check like the event info like thing when you're in the actual stage, you can click the thing and it reminds you. You can do it in normal Easy A's as well. It like shows you the details of like which units get extra bonus when attacking and defending or whatever. But yeah, characters with an Easy A, and that's one of the missions as well. Anyway, isn't it, to bring a character
you want
that
to
has
run
an Easy A?
I had no idea. That makes sense, and because I actually didn't know. Another thing is that they took away the type thing, but they made it they did a thing where it's like the like nerf Devil Man, where characters under SSR level can only do 2 mil damage.
No, not the goat.
They're scared of the boy.
They add that because that used to not be on older Easy A's. I think they added that retroactively, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Where on newer Easy A's you can't do that.
Dude, if you're willing to sit there for however long it takes to get the RNG that Devilman one shots, you can have it. You can have it. Yeah. Like if you play the stage 100 times to get that 1% chance that Devilman one shots the boss, like you deserve it at that point. Like,
especially because it's like he's such a limited character too.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah,
the one thing The one thing I will say, someone in the chat said it, but yeah, the one thing I will say that I saw, most people I would say agree on, I saw people commenting, especially when I was doing it on my stream, making it cost 25 stamina a time instead of it being 0, which is what all the other Easy A stuff is. That was a bit odd, I thought.
It was a little strict, because I like saw that and I was like, oh yeah, I wasn't paying much attention to it, and I was like, wait, my stamina bar is like going down, like what? And then I like, looked at it more and I was like, huh. That's weird. Like, I feel like 25 is a bit much. I don't know. I mean,
it's a Dokkan event run.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like it is Dokkan event, like level in terms of how much stamina it takes. So I guess it's not like that bad, all things considered. But I was just like, this just seems like a strange decision. I don't know, because it's like if they're gonna make it that short, right? I feel like it would have been less stamina for some reason. I don't know.
What we could say is that I guess maybe the first strike could have been 0 stamina, but they already have a thing where you have to use stamina to replay a stage. So they're probably like, well, it doesn't even matter. Like you clear the stage once, and then by the EZA rules, you just use stamina to replay the same stage over and over. We'll just make it stamina in general. Maybe it'll be just easier on them. Like it'll save them like 5 minutes of coding time, and they're like, yes,
yeah.
So at that point, it's like that's probably why. Because replaying the same stages make you use stamina anyway. So like,
yeah.
Very interesting. I can understand why. I mean, ideally, it could have been just 0 stamina all the time, but they didn't want to. I guess, which fair.
That's what I was assuming.
I would rather it cost stamina and be 5 runs than 0 stamina and
30. That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's definitely fair. I mean, to be fair. Also, I'm sure all of us probably have a bunch of meat items anyway.
Yeah, I mean, even this world tournament is giving meat items, so.
Right. I don't think it's that hard to have something.
I have so much meat, like I'm just saved up in here, and I'm using it all right now.
That's a quote for you right there. I have so much meat, Minato 2024.
I have so much meat, but okay. That is basically for Super Saiyan 3 Goku and the Super EZAs. We kind of get a good guess about how future Super EZAs will look like, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Next we have the actual Extreme Z battle, the brand new one that's coming for the celebration, which is STR Super Vegeta, which we're all caught off guard. I literally was like, "There's no way they're easying him."
I was
because he is all the way far away, but no, they are easying STR Super Vegeta, which I think is really cool because it just means that I think. The thing, I know a lot of people are like scared about Super EZAs replacing EZAs, or they're like, oh, Super EZAs, they're looking at the negatives. It was like, oh, like it was like 5-10 stones or something. And it's like, there are, sure, you can say that, and there are some like, negative feedback you could leave about Super EZAs, but I think a positive thing when it comes to this is the fact that I don't think they would have done this Super Vegeta EZA if they did not have Super EZAs, because with Super EZAs, they probably will feel more secure reaching out ahead of time to do EZAs that fit the celebration and could be a lot more hype, rather than if there was no Super EZAs, they probably would have picked like Angel Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta or Tech Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta, or even just thrown Tech Broly in there, right? I don't think they would have gone out of their way to pick S-tier Super Vegeta. So I think that's really cool, and I hope they do more like this in the future. This only further strengthens my idea of Namek Saga Worldwide, because he came out right before that. And, Namek Saga Worldwide is going to be pretty sick. Watch, chat. You already know. Watch it be like the April Dokkan Fest. But, I think Super Vegeta using is pretty cool. In terms of what he's doing, I want to first and foremost say I do think this guy is being a little downplayed by the community. And I understand like where people are coming from. I think people are really honing in on that cell restriction that was added in his passive.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, he has a cell restriction.
It's very weird.
I would say it's not as weird as people are making it out to be. I think that it's stupid that Cell maxed his account, but he already had an option to get his active skill with Cell. So I'm not like, oh, this came out of nowhere, because it's like you look at his active skill, and it doesn't have to be against a Cell, but you could get it a lot faster against a Cell. So I'm like, it makes sense that they would add a restriction facing Cell, since he already had one a little bit in his kit existing. I don't like that they added it, because it's like there's no actual difficult Cell fight, but
that's why it's weird, right? Like, it's not weird because it doesn't make sense for the context of the character, because it does. It's just weird. It's just weird that they would add it in a meta where there is no Cell boss. So it's like, why put it in there? Like,
it almost feels like they think Cell Max is included.
I saw. Because if he was, then it would make more sense. Because I'm fine with characters having these restrictions for parts of their kit, or added in little extras that are there just kind of like the flavor, right? Because it fits the context of where the character comes from. But at the same time, it's also, why do it when it's not actually like relevant at all, right? Because he's releasing for Saiyan Day, he's on both versions at the same time. but neither version has a difficult event where you fight Cell, apart from,
Right.
I guess the most recent one would be just the Worldwide Celebration one, which, being that that's, you know, well over 6 months old at this point, why would you be giving a character that you're easy-aing now an ability that only works in an event that's like over 6 months old? Yeah, it's almost like
Honestly,
it's almost like it should work against Cell Max, and then it would make sense why they put it on there. But yeah,
honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if like genuinely they just thought that it did, and then they put it in the game, you know, and then like
That's what I
people are like, "Oh,
genuinely
what the
think.
heck? Why doesn't this work on Cell Max?" And then they're like, "What do you mean it doesn't work on Cell Max?"
I don't know. That's maybe they do, and it's like another thing where they don't test units, but that's a whole other thing.
Bro, yeah, literally, I don't know, bro. Sometimes I swear there's things where it's like, bro, this is just proof that they don't play their own game. I don't know.
Another thing is, I think people are super focused on the 5-turn guard, and it's like, I get it. It sucks that he's not going to be fantastic in every single event in the Gogeta fight, or some other like slightly longer, like mega long fight, like the Gogeta fight, right? But I think that's a mindset people have because in the past few years, there's really been like 1 or 2 events that stick out. And it's like those 2 are the hardest fight that are just harder, like by a good margin compared to any other fight. We had Fusion's Boss and Omega, right? I think those 2 stood out. We had before that some Max fight stood out, right? Before that we had Reds and Broly stood out. We had what's it called? The God event at that time stood out compared to everything else, right? And it's always been a thing where it's like, okay, it's like 1 or 2 events that are just much more difficult than the rest of the events that are in the game. But it's different right now. It's really, really different because of the fact that I think that, while I think the Gogeta fight is really difficult, there's other fights that are on that same level of the Gogeta fight that aren't long. And I think see some people talk about the Gogeta fight. I'm like, okay, but he's good for the Beast Gone fight still. He's good for Soda Hope Trunks. He's good for Cell Max. I can name so many other events that are mid-length, short length. Even Fusion Zamasu is not easy.
yeah,
Like he's still like a relatively difficult fight. The Beerus fight is a shorter fight, and I think people like really focus on that Gogeta fight, and they're like, "Oh, dude, he sucks. Like he's not good for Gogeta." I'm like, no. There's gonna be other characters designed for certain events.
Right.
Plus, it's funny because
true.
from what we were saying earlier, from some of the stuff with these newer characters, it's almost like the opposite for him, where for global, he's actually going to be super good because the toughest events that we have are those 2 events, right? Like Zamasu and Omega, and he's going to have guard for almost the entire event when you think about the teams that he's going to be on. Because Zamasu, we already talked about, you can easily beat in less than 5 turns. Omega can be longer, but when you think about the fact that on global, ideally, this guy's main team is going to be the new Vegeta team. So if you're rocking him with Vegeta and you are running units like Kefla on that team will beat Omega in like 6 turns, maybe 7.
One thing I would say is
dragging
that
a little bit, but
I like that Vegeta's tech in this case STR, and he's critting anyways. But the thing is that this guy's going to help on global a lot with that Vegeta team because base Vegeta, he's like tech, and Vegeta has no crit in his kit outside of active skill. So the thing is that Vegeta is not really going to be doing a lot of damage to his bosses because he's a tech character. But then that's where this S tier Super Vegeta comes in, and I think he'll really help with the damage. Because I think one other thing people aren't really thinking about is like this guy is probably going to do like just a straight up 17 mil, 20 mil attack stun in some situations with a guaranteed crit. That's not bad at all. That's pretty good. I would say I probably would have preferred the additional super attack was not restricted to Cell. It should have been he got an additional super attack within the same time to receiving an attack. That should have been baseline.
yeah.
Because it's not like you're going to be putting him in slot 1 too often. And I don't know. I just feel like that cell restriction is kind of crazy. But besides that, I think he seems like he'll be pretty good. I like him. He's not going to be crazy busted. Like, I think how good Kefla is. He's not matching what Super Saiyan 2 Kefla could do, especially. But at the same time, Kefla is a transforming character that gets that good turn 5. Well, this Vegeta, again, he's a different character. He's as good as he is the very first turn. And against one other thing, I will like this guy for the Cell Max fight because he has that guaranteed stun that he hits whenever he hits an enemy with a super attack, he guaranteed stuns. So it's like, at that point you could steal some max, to be fair, but it's like at that point you could just still stun with this guy, and then like any attack in slot 2 or slot 3, he's not going to be hit with at all. So it could be useful. Like you could potentially bring characters that are stronger early on and get weaker as the fight goes on, and because he guaranteed stuns, they're not going to take hits sometimes, right? Like you could work leeway with that, and it's better to have it than not to not have it, right? So I don't know. I think this guy will be good overall.
Plus,
and I think calling him bad, I think people are just like, this is wrong, right?
Yeah, because the other thing I saw somebody say, which I think is true, is we've talked about before, like on the timeline a lot, how there's a lot of shenanigans that go on sometimes, like not naming names for anyone, where people will cope for units because like other units on the team protect them, so then you can get away with running them. Like I know you had your joke thread, Minato, using Pui Pui against Vegeta. But the thing is, this guy, because of the teams that he's on, because they count Super Vegeta and Super Trunks for being on like the Super Saiyans category, so again, like going back to Vegeta's team or even just the 200% Super Saiyans team or something like that, you can run characters like the Anniversary Gogeta, if we're talking about from the JP side, and obviously upcoming for Global. So when you get to the turn where, like, say this guy, his guard runs out on turn 5, and then on turn 7, you're using Gogeta's target ability, so he's not getting hit anyway. And then at that point, you won because Blue Gogeta does tons of damage. And then this guy, the interesting thing I want to see will be on those turns where he's not getting hit first, what are his attack stats like? Because he's always getting guaranteed crits. So even if he goes from like, if he's getting hit first and we're seeing maybe something like Minato said, if we're ballparking like anywhere between say 15 and 20 mil, if he's still doing over 10 mil with guaranteed crits without getting hit first, then he's still contributing something to the team in those later stages. And then if you're, not getting hit. Now, that's the thing. I don't agree with solely evaluating units based on that. Like, I would never say this unit is good because you can run him with Gogeta. But that's just something to consider when you think about, like, if he's good in event A and B, but then say, oh, well, you can't use him in event C, though, because he's too bad on turn 7. It's like, well, kind of depends on the team that you're running him on.
Right.
Which is something that's interesting to consider. But like I say, when even just by bringing it up, I don't agree with like evaluating units completely based on, oh, I just protect him with this other unit. But it is something to bear in mind that for some of these harder events, like he'll be good in some of the shorter events, and then in some of the events where he could potentially drop off at the end, you can run him with other units to protect him. So then you still get the value that he brings at the very beginning of the event. I don't like it when people use it to cope for units that are actually just terrible, but you can use things to protect them all the time. Whereas this guy will have the value early on, and then when he drops off at the end, you can potentially use some of the other units that he's with to cover for him, which is cool. So yeah, I'm interested to see what he looks like in game. I haven't seen any private server showcases. I didn't do any myself. I think you didn't do one either, did you, Minato? So I want to see what he looks like in game. I'm surprised they picked him as well. I thought it was very cool that they did. I like the idea, whether it is because of the Super Easy A's or not. I just like the idea that, it's like, this is an Easy A that's relevant to the celebration and really helps Vegeta's team, the new unit. So he's the good pick for the Easy A. And I'd rather they do stuff like that rather than just picking one that is kind of next in line, but isn't necessarily one of the top picks. Although saying that, as we discussed last week when we were talking about predictions, one of the units who probably is pretty much next in line that we would expect to get an Easy A based on release dates and everything is LR Tech Broly, who I really wanted to get an Easy A because he'd be on Vegeta's 200% team. Look, and that would have been super fun. But
it's okay because the Bio Broly is like next. So
you said that earlier.
The Bio Broly, like my guess, I'm gonna make a whole video theory on it when we get closer, but Bio Broly is gonna be the next Dokkan Fest, y'all. I know, I see the vision. I see what Dokkan's doing. I see
Dokkan fell off.
Look, it's the April Fool's Dokkan Fest, brother. It's not gonna be like freaking
the April Fool's free-to-play card.
It's not gonna be freaking Super Saiyan God Vegeta from the Broly fight.
Criminal. Bro, and you know what's crazy too? You'll already know that Bio Broly's animations will be the best in the game too. You already know if they really do introduce him.
Dude, that would actually be so funny.
Like, dude, I don't know, man. They love giving these like random units.
Insanely busted.
It would be so fun because like that was like with Rip Brienne, her animations cleared a lot of the stuff that came out in the year that she came out in, which is like crazy to think about. And obviously, like, who cares about Rip Brienne?
Imagine they drop Dokkan Fest Bio Broly for April on JP, and he's not only the best TUR in the game, but he has like a Dokkan original animation that
oh my god,
super
dude,
good.
He's better than Beast Broly Gogeta. That would be crazy.
Yeah. Again, we still do have a few topics to talk about, but I do want to bring up, if you guys want to go ahead and support the podcast, anything you want us to answer, we'll be reading any donos and super chats at the end of the stream. So any shout outs, questions, anything you want to say, we'll be reading those all at the end of the stream. And we want to thank you all for your support today. But next, we do have, again, sub EZAs this time. Finally, actual sub EZAs, right? And we'll start off with the, I guess AGL Super Vegeta, I think is the next one, right?
Yep.
Another Super Vegeta character, and his EZA again. Details did actually come out yesterday, or it was when S tier Super Vegeta EZA details came out. And again, we'll talk about him briefly. He's not like looking like he's going to be anything too powerful. But again, he's funny enough. I don't know. They're just doing this so often. I think they're just coming out with so many characters that look like they will be useful in the Salmax fight. Like this character, I think is again he's EGL. How he works is he has a baseline 30% damage reduction, but depending on how low your HP is, he gets extra damage reduction. So he gets an extra 20% when you're under 70% HP, and then another 20% under 50% HP. Then another 20% when you're under 30% HP. So if you're under 30% HP, you have a 90% damage reduction.
That's good.
If you're under 50%, you have 70% reduction. And then if you're under 70%, you have then you have 50% when you're under 70% HP. The HP persistence and everything like that, it's getting weird. But I think this guy seems like he'll be interesting. He seals super attacks, so that's good against Salmax as well. He seems like he'll have decent stats. He's supporting. Like he seems like a pretty decent sub EZA character. Only gripe, no defense raise and super attack. But Ningen, what do you think about this guy? What's your thoughts on him so far?
He seems interesting. I think the problem is going to be for him, he's going to be one of those units that you get stuck sometimes. Like you get to the hard part of the event, but you're starting the turn on like full HP. And then you're kind of in a situation where you just have to really hope that he's not the unit that's going to get hit by a super. Because I don't know what his average defense is like calc to be post super attack on a normal turn. But yeah, if you've only got that baseline 30% damage reduction, you are probably just going to be praying that he doesn't get hit by a super. And then hopefully is going to be at least good enough to tank normals. The only other thing, if I remember rightly off the top of my head from his kit, is he doesn't support he gives extra support, is it to certain typings? I did have his deals up at some point, but he doesn't give it to Tech, which is kind of annoying for the new Vegeta to not get the extra support from him. But
that's true. I mean, he does give all types of support of key 125%, but he gets 50% to AGL turn physical allies, right? It would have been nice if it applied to Vegeta as well, but at least like talking about JP, it applies to the new Gogeta. It applies to S tier Super Vegeta coming out as well. So it's like there are characters on like that Super Saiyan's team that it could apply to, which I think works out. He doesn't support it though, so like Blue Evolution Vegeta wouldn't get supported by that.
Also, I'm trying to remember, doesn't he have, because he's super old, this guy, right? So doesn't he have like the super basic Final Flash animation as well?
Yep. Oh yeah, he does.
Is it the one that still has like the black background and everything?
Yeah,
because he's old. I was honestly waiting for this guy to get an ECA, because like he has been in the game for a very long time.
Thinking about it, he does support the Broly as well, so that's like a 50% support character for Broly.
That's pretty good.
This guy he's not on full power. Oh no, he is. Sorry, I'm stupid. So yeah, he's on full power team. You can throw him on Broly's team, give him a 50% support unit, that could be nasty. That could, if you want to just use Brawler for fun and juice them up, right?
Yeah,
that could be cool. But yeah, that's it for the Super Vegeta. Really, he seems like he's I think honestly, that's all I'll give him. Just But next, I think we do have a pretty nice character overall, and he seems like he's going to be very powerful actually. Android 16 is the EZA that's coming out. He's another not Super EZA. He's another Sub EZA character.
You really like Super Easy, is my guy.
I love Super EZAs, y'all. I'm just obsessed with Super EZA. This Android 16, I mean, he seems very powerful. I'll let Ningen talk about him. Actually, I think again, Ningen, you're also like an Androids fan, so I'm sure you're kind of happy about the 16 overall, right?
Yeah, to be honest, because of today, doing the data downloads so early in the morning for me, my time, and then I got up and did a big World Tournament stream. I think I briefly read what he did when I first woke up, but I didn't get a chance to like make a video or anything. The funniest thing is just me seeing a bunch of people saying that he's good. Because
yeah, he is correct.
Because on release, yeah, Theo, if you know what he does, feel free to have a bit of a chat. Because
I don't know it off the top of my head, but I think people were basically just saying he's like the Super Strike one, but just better.
So yeah, I guess go for it. Slacking, man. What is going on?
Listen, I'm a Dragon Ball fan. I can't read.
I've been too busy doing the World Tournament. Come on.
I'm doing World Tournament too, buddy. What do you think? What are you talking about? Okay, but I'll talk about it. So essentially the gist of the 16 is that he has a guard guaranteed, right? Yeah. I don't think he had a guaranteed guard before his EZA. He had a high chance guard.
Yeah, I don't think he did.
Now they gave him a guaranteed guard. Yeah, they added this part of his passive, which is kind of stupid. So we get 16% reduction whenever a guard is activated, and that goes up to 48% damage reduction, and that is permanent.
I was going to say, is it, because that's the thing I couldn't remember whether it was within the turn. So if it's permanent, that seems pretty good.
Yeah. So he has a guard with 48% damage reduction. He gets 160% attack and defense, and another 80% attack and defense when attacking. Then he greatly raises defense for the turn and massively lowers defense, right? So at least that he massively lowers the enemy defense, not his own, right? But
yeah,
so he gets another 50% there. And even that by itself, it seems like a pretty strong kit for a sub EZA character, right? Because he gets a sub EZA from the STR Perfect Cells Extreme Z battle, which is interesting. I guess that's how they're gonna do these characters that, you know, they awaken with LRs, right? Like a Dokkan Fest LR medals.
Yeah.
But they're just gonna sub EZA them with like other related medals, which is good. Or they might be put in their own Extreme Z battle, right? But I guess we did see that during the 9th anniversary as well with like the Bardock and Ningen, right? And the pair, Bardock and Ningen, right? They were a sub EZA too. They came out with an LR. He gets this extra part of the passive again when there's a Super Saiyan Gohan or Youth or Super Saiyan 2 Gohan Youth in the same turn, where he goes all allies key through in 58% attack and defense. Then he gets an extra 80% attack and 160% defense there. So that part of the passive you're not really gonna see. Like Super Saiyan Gohan Youth and like Super Saiyan 2 Gohan Youth, like we have AJLR Gohan who I think will like you will work fine, but it's like you have to run like the Android Cell Saga team, and then we have to run Super Trunks leader, and you won't have fun at all. Like you'll cry. So that's the thing, because they don't share any other team. But I guess, you know, there is, I don't even know. I guess let's wait for that World Tournament.
No, I was going to say we just got to keep our fingers crossed that the LR Tech Super Saiyan 2 Gohan is really good.
Yeah, but do they share any teams?
Oh, yeah, probably not.
Wait, they might share Powerful Comeback. They are a Powerful Comeback.
Yeah, that'll work.
You could run Blue Evolution Vegeta as your leader, and then Powerful Comeback, right? That could be interesting. You can see something there. But yeah, unfortunately, AGL Super Saiyan 2 Gohan is not on Powerful Comeback himself, which does suck. But that's cool, I guess. Right? You know, you can get something there. I guess, you know, you could run 23rd World Tournament Goku's team, and then you can get AGL or Gohan and 16 on the same team together there. But because it's Powerful Comeback and Earthbird Fighters, right? So
yeah.
You can get that to work, I guess, which, you know, it's not that bad. 23rd World Tournament Goku, you could still get him to work.
Why?
Tournament participants, actually, as well.
Why? After he came out, like I remember everyone making fun of this unit when he came out, because I remember we saw like the Gohan and Cell, and then we saw the 16, and I can't remember if it was the picture that I don't know if it was from the tweet, because obviously when they do the tweets now, you can kind of tell from like the image, because they have the box be the certain color, like what typing he is. Or maybe they showed, I can't remember whose typing they showed first. I can't remember. But we knew that 16 was coming out, and we knew that he basically, for part of his kit, had to be run with a Gohan. So I remember everyone being like, oh, okay, well, obviously, 16's not a Kamehameha character, so he must be AGL, because then he'll be on Gohan's team. And then he comes out as an int unit. And like, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, maybe once. I think I was making content then, so I might have made a video. I actually legitimately might not have ever used this guy. Like, I think if I have, it's like once. Yeah. So the fact that he's gone from being absolutely just garbage to the fact that he seems like he could be quite good, even without the Gohan, is quite interesting. It would have been nice if, I know we said this kind of before about this Cell thing for Super Vegeta, where it makes sense, right, that he gets the extra buff when there's a Kid Gohan. But, I mean, come on. Like, when you get this opportunity, give the guy an easy A. Just change it so it's with Gohan. Like, any Gohan, right? And then...
Yeah, they could have done that.
Then, right? Yeah, that'd be great. But...
yeah, but... Oh, well, it is what it is at this point, where you can't really change that, unfortunately. At this point, where it's already in the data. And, well, I guess they could, if they wanted to, they could change it, but they're not going to, right?
No.
That's not how they operate. So, that's after 16. Again, I think he'll still be pretty good. So, I'm very excited to see how he's going to look like in game once he releases. Again, Monday, he releases with STR Super Vegeta, which I think you could pre-farm the medals right now. So, you can just STR Perfect Cell, just pre-farm those medals. Speaking of Cell, we do have the Cell Juniors EZAs as well. And unfortunately, it's kind of weird because it's like they're a bunch of Cell Juniors together, but their name is just Cell Junior. I never got that. But
that is kind of weird. I never thought about that before.
Yeah. I don't know why, but besides that, this Cell Junior card looks to be pretty decent. I'll just talk about what he does just because Ningen was able to really see these guys, but so they get 150% attack and defense, 30% attack and defense, and 10% dodge chance per artificial life forms category ally in the team. Then they now support artificial life forms category allies by 3 key and 30% attack and defense. So what I'm really thinking about this guy is like for the Beast Gohan mission with the artificial life forms, this guy is probably going to be pretty nice. Launches an additional attack that has a high chance to be super. Then launches an additional super attack and changes key spheres of a certain type that aren't EGL into 2 rainbow key spheres if there's a perfect form cell or perfect cell attacking in the same turn. So that's how this Cell Juniors do work. So if you're on a full artificial life form setup, they have a 70% chance to dodge, and they could triple super, right? They're supporting as well. They don't have multiplicative buffs in their passive though. That's the only thing. What I would say that I do think is interesting for them is, we know 16, there's going to be an issue with 16 getting a Gohan in the same rotation, but even if we don't get a new cell, like, relatively soon, Tech Cell is going to get Super EZA, like, I would assume in the next few months at most. Yep. So, like, if they give Tech Cell, like, a good Super EZA, that could be really interesting. And I think we could see some cool stuff there as well. So I'm excited for that Tech Perfect Cell EZA, because again, this character is Rainbow Orb changing, so he's a nuker character, and you could potentially get some real use out of there. Let's say if like there could be a situation where Tech exchange EZAs and they're like the best artificial life forms character, then you could run that boot. You could run 2 Boo leaders, Tech Cell, second form Cell, and then the 50% support where he's 50% support or 60% actually for Tech. Then you could have the Cell Juniors. Like, it could be an interesting team. If like Tech Exchange Boot gets a good easy and the Cell gets good super easy, I mean, asking for a lot to like fall down together, but it's not impossible. True. But I think the Cell Juniors seem like they'll be pretty decent. I like a 70% dodge, honestly. It's not the worst, for sure.
I mean, support unit with 70% chance to dodge is pretty decent.
Absolutely.
Decent combo.
And then once they super attack, they do raise attack and defense for the turn and lower attack and defense for the turn. So again, another character that I think will be good for Cell Max actually because they debuff. So even the Gogeta fight, like they debuff in the Gogeta fight, so they could be really interesting there too.
It's just
because they're not like time gated.
It's so funny, these two units, because obviously their EZAs, they seem pretty decent. They've taken that opportunity to like make them a lot better than they, especially when they were on the release. But it's funny because we already talked about, you know, with King Vegeta, banner units being, you know, this certain way that we want them to be, where they buff the main unit. But these two are like a perfect example of confusing side banner units, right? Because like 16, you couldn't run him on Gohan's team anyway. And then the Cell Juniors, they've always had that thing in their passive where if you have a Cell on the turn, but then even though they're the Cell Juniors, they like didn't share. Well, I think they might have had like one, but they like didn't link well with the int Cell.
They don't go Cell. Yeah, Attack of the Clones, Brutal Beatdown, Nightmare with that incel specifically. But I think with Tech Cell, they probably share a few links. Do they not?
Yeah, I'm not even sure, but
they share. I don't know how many links they'll share. I'm not finding them. Okay, wait. Is that doesn't him? Whatever. It doesn't matter. But they probably don't share that many links with them, I guess, right? Because that Tech Cell is very old, so you're just missing a couple of links. Okay, I found them right here. They share a total of 2 links.
WW.
That's awesome. I didn't even think about that. Right, I forgot that the links are just different because they hate them. So that's the thing. Anyways, at least they could be a nice little floater on that team, maybe. That's it for the Cell Junior, though. I think C is pretty decent. So far, the batch seems nice. Not bad too far. Then we have the World Tournament EZAs. So this is all the new EZAs that are on the GP version of the game, only GP. And there are some, I think, good options here. So I think we'll talk first about, I mean, who do you want to talk first about? LR Yamcha Puar or High School
Gohan? Theo, you pick. You guys are having your JB World Tournament. Unfortunately, over here we just have we have the scraps. We have like Tech Ultimate Gohan's EZA, the World Tournament card. He is so bad.
Yeah.
Okay, look, I'll talk about High School Gohan because I think he's cool, and I think, so with this guy, I think he's not as good as people want him to be, and I think that's fair. You know, he gets 158% attack defense, 58% attacking. He has the 58% reduction. The things I don't like about this guy is I think that they didn't really change the support. It just went from 2 key 30% to 3 key 30%, and they kept it a super class. So obviously the new Super Saiyan's leader is the Tech Vegeta, who's extreme class. So this guy's not supporting that Tech Vegeta.
Yeah,
and I think that's kind of annoying if we're thinking about him on the Super Saiyan's team. But I think his defenses seem like they'll be okay, right? They're not anything particularly special. He got the bare minimum of what he needed to be runnable. And I think you'll definitely be able to use him in a lot of the difficult content. But he's not really going to be eating super attacks like too well. Like against the hardest hitting bosses. What I do like is that when he's facing an extreme class enemy, he does get an extra 58% attack and defense, and then he actually lowers attack 20% for 2 turns, which is actually pretty potent. So you're able to lower, like, let's say Cell Max's attack by 20%. And if you don't have a sealer on the team, that could be really helpful. Or even if you do have a sealer, right, it makes his 1 mil normals. You take off about that's 200k taken off. So that's 1 mil normals that go down to 800k normals, which, you know, makes things a lot more manageable for certain units, right? Especially like units that maybe even be type disadvantaged, right? And even if they get high defenses, they're just not able to tank as well. So I think that's pretty cool for this High School Gohan. But I think they could have made him better. I think they probably were a little scared of this guy. Is the only thing I'm thinking of for him.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, he had the potential to be super good, so that does sound like a bit of a shame.
They made him just decent, right?
It does seem like, I feel like a lot of the time when like they know that a unit is like really good, like I swear it's a unit that we like always talk about in the community. They like, I mean, I guess it kind of depends on the unit, but I feel like a lot of the time they are just like scared of giving them, you know, what they could be and making them super cracked, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, it's because it's weird when it comes to these guys as well, and it's the same because obviously we're getting these ones coming out on global that are not particularly great for this most recent set. It's like, what is even the point of some of these World Tournament Easy A's? Because like they get their Easy A's and then they're still not good. So it's like,
right.
What's the point? Like, I know technically they're free to play cards, but like not everyone's going to have them because although they are free, they come from the ticket banner, which you get the tickets by playing the World Tournament, but depending how much you play depends how many tickets you get. And then they are giving away extra copies because I know you get, as long as you do the wins and wins in a row, you get 2 extra copies of whichever cards it is that are easy A-ing during the that particular World Tournament. For the World Tournament cards specifically, because the Dragon Ball Saga ones are a whole nother matter, because it's the ones from that DB Saga banner, they don't give you extra copies of them. So then it makes it even worse. Like if their Easy A sucks, they're like a unit that you might not even have, or you might not have dupes for or something.
No, in fact, we're on that topic. Let's talk about the Jackie Chin.
Yeah, I didn't see what he did. I think I saw a tweet potentially from you just saying that his design was terrible. That was like the only thing I think
he's like one of the worst design characters. I absolutely hate his design. It's just so stupid. What an idiot design. What a dumb
idiot design. The designer at Dokkan hearing you say this right now.
Yeah, dude. What were they? Whoa. Okay. So this guy, right? He really raises attack and seals, right? Right. 100% attack and defense on return. 100% attack and defense when attacking. He has a nice little low chance dodge. 10%. You get it. For each hit he receives, he gets 30% attack and 20% dodge. That goes up to 60% dodge and 150% attack. So this guy has free-to-play stats. He's going to be probably like 200k defense. He has to take about 3 attacks to get 60% dodge.
Wow.
I
great.
see.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
So to get the ability for him to live, he has to take attacks.
That sounds good.
That is a little counterintuitive, if I do say so myself.
I mean, he starts building up his multiplicative defense, like that you can get. Well, he already has someone attacking, to be fair, but he gets another 30% defense up to 150%, and then 20% crit chance up to 60% with each attack he does dodge. So I can see the vision, but it's like they should have given him like 4-turn guard, and then they'll be like, pretty decent. He survives KO attacks if you're above 10% HP, though. So he has an effect where it's like, even if he receives the attack, he could, I guess, like dodge the next attacks after because it'll build up some of the dodge. But I mean, he seems like he's funny, but I hate the design.
He's funny.
The design sucks.
The funny guy.
What a funny little guy,
It's a dumb design. I hate it. But that's it for that guy. I don't even care about him. He'll be gone forever. He's gone. We have the Super Saiyan Vegeta, and this guy. I mean, at the end of the day, he bread and butter, 50% attacking defense, 100% attacking defense when attacking. He needs to receive hits. He gets up to 5 key and then 100% attack with each attack he receives, and he just has to receive 5 attacks for that. But this is the part I don't really like, where he gets a great chance to guard if there is a massive evolution category ally attacking in the same turn. Then he builds up crit chance 15% with each attack received up to 60%. I don't see why they had to give it a great chance to guard. I don't really understand. I mean, maybe it's like, well, he's free to play, so you give him a great chance to guard. But like, he's free to play, you're already nerfing his stats, right? So I just I don't understand.
Yeah.
I do like his super attack effect though. Again, 1 turn greatly raises attack and defense, seals, lowers defense. It's a pretty nice super attack effect, but I don't know. I mean, this guy specifically is also a character I'm not really going too crazy over. I think if you guard, maybe he could look decent, but that's the best I'll really give him specifically. I mean, what do you think about his details? Is there anything you think you could salvage from him? Ningen, as a Vegeta fan?
Yeah, it doesn't sound good from what I'm hearing. So it just seems like another kind of disappointing batch. I know everyone was looking forward to this one because of the Gohan, but yeah, sounds a bit disappointing. I think I heard Mr. Boo was okay.
Yeah, I was about to talk about him.
But
Mr.
yeah,
Boo, I actually do like Mr. Boo. I actually also do like the High School Gohan because it's like, at least High School Gohan, you could like take him into events. He'll always be able to like eat these normal attacks as a floating support character. I think he'll be like a decent character there. But Mr. Boo, I think actually has potential to be also a pretty decent option as well. So for Mr. Boo specifically, this guy is the double rainbow orb changer we do know from the past, right? He does greatly raise defense for the turn, lowers attack. He doesn't get defense on super attack though, like in his passive, which is the only issue. But what happens is he gets 50% damage reduction when he collects 2 or more rainbow key spheres. Then from the third rainbow key sphere onward, he gets another 10% reduction. So let's say you get 4 rainbow key spheres, he would have 70% damage reduction, right?
it's not bad.
Or if you get even 5 in some situations, he would also get what's it called 80% reduction, right? Which at that point that could actually be pretty nice. He does get an extra 50% attack defense and then 30,000 HP per rainbow key sphere obtained, which actually I don't think that's bad either. So if you grab those 4 rainbow key spheres, he heals you 120k HP, which is that's like 15
That is really
to
good.
20% of your HP sometimes, right?
Yeah.
120k. That's actually a pretty decent number.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It's like I looked at it, I'm like, that's not too bad, right? And again, he is changing 2 key spheres, 2 rainbow key spheres. So it's going to be very often you'll see a lot of rainbow orbs in the field with this guy. The only thing is that he doesn't get like key per key sphere or anything like that. So it's not going to try to guide to get as many rainbow key spheres sometimes. But since he changes so many key spheres to rainbow, I don't think it's that big of a deal. But yeah, what do you think about Mr. Boo?
I mean, it sounds okay. The damage reduction is good. I think I saw, was it Annie in the chat saying that apparently with the enough rainbow orbs, he can tank Beast Gohan super attack. So that's.
I mean, is that Beast
that's a
Gohan
W.
super attack before he
Interesting.
supers, or is that after? Because keep in mind, Beast Gohan is always going to super in slot 1 before you attack.
Yeah,
So,
that is true. But I suppose it depends. Does he always super in slot 1?
I mean, it's like very rare that he doesn't, because he
Yeah.
has 30% chance of super. So it's like that's what makes Beast Gohan so annoying, is that he is always supering you in slot 1, hitting you for like 2+ mil damage, then he stuns you. So it's like your slot 1 character usually is not gonna super,
Yeah.
unless it's like Gamma 1 and he has an unarmed super attack counter, right?
Okay.
But I don't know. I think that he seems like he's decent, so I actually do like him. And any help for like some of those teams, like artificial life forms, will be taken. So that is cool. Next we do have. I'll talk about Yamcha and Puar. I'm not sure. You probably saw Yamcha and Puar, right, Ningen?
I think
Because
so.
his details came out.
I think,
'Cause his
yeah, because they
details
were the
came out
same
with
day as
Super
the
Vegeta.
Super Vegeta ones, weren't they?
Yeah,
They seem like they could be okay.
I think so
On their
too.
best turn, they
right?
look like they could be kind of cool. But
I think the thing with them is that they could do some pretty decent damage. Actually, I think people are gonna be surprised at how much damage this character can actually do for a free to play character, because they don't have built-in crit, but they could do 4 super attacks, and then they get pretty so they get 250% attack on super, but then they have 150% attack as long as they're not facing a Pepigos ally at the start of turn. So that is a multiplicative buff. And with their LR stats, I mean, they're at 19.3k attack, which is nothing crazy, but those are pretty decent attack stats. So like you could see them with like Dokkan Biscuit Goku, and then you can kind of juice them to get some pretty high attack stats, considering there will be a free to play character. Defensively, I can't speak. Defensively though, little worrying, because they only get the 250% defense on super. They have nothing to start of turn. They don't really have super strong defensive links. They have the high chance to dodge though, which is cool, like against
That
no
is good.
Pepigos allies. But honestly, it's better than nothing. I would rather have the dodge rather than like no dodge, right? I think
Yeah.
I'll take the high chance to dodge for a free to play character. But it's like I think they could have maybe added a little bit more defense. Maybe make their super attack effects like greatly raise attacking defense for the turn instead of just a 30%. But they seem like they'll be right. They'll be right. Right. So that's cool. And then finally we have Shen. I don't think you saw Shen himself.
Oh yeah, he's just the awakening, isn't he? Because he didn't have an awakening before. Yeah.
Yep. Just an awakening. So Shen essentially he had the 50% dodge Shen's overall in slot 1. Essentially he just got the higher stats. But now in slot 1 he has a 70% chance dodge instead of a 50%. Which I'll take that. He also does get a separate 10% dodge up to 20% with each attack you evade within the turn. That does not add together, so it's not 70 plus a 20 into 90, unfortunately, because it's activating when he's dodging. It ends up being 70 and then a separate 20% chance dodge is how it will work out. So that is a little unfortunate, but I mean, I think it'll still be fine, right? And he has greatly raised attacking defense of the turn, high chance of stun. He does an additional attack with a great chance to be a super attack. If he dodges an attack in the same turn, then he gets a 3-turn 100% attack buff with a dodge. So I don't know. He seems like he'll be decent, I guess, but it's like, his stats will hold him back. His teams will hold him back.
Yeah, it's just very random. It's weird because like these World Tournament units have been like this for a while, right? Where like they come out as a base SSR and like most of the time they're just not very good. Then you have to wait ages for them to get an awakening. And then by the time they get an awakening, like this guy, he's not very good. And then in a certain number of World Tournaments, he's going to get an easy A. And judging by some of the ones that we've seen from this one and even like some of the previous ones, then he's potentially not going to be very good. Yeah. So I really don't know what the deal is with these World Tournament easy A's. They're just so like weird.
I don't know. Some of them are very miss. And then like, again, I think High School Gohan and Boo are like the better of the batches of World Tournament characters, but I'm not going to say they're crazy, right?
Yeah.
I think the crazy easies in this batch are like 16. I think Super Vegeta's good. I think the Cell Juniors look good. Even like the obviously the summonable characters. Whoa, crazy, right? But I think they'll look pretty nice and difficult content in the game. So that is all there is for the World Tournament EZs. That's pretty much everything there. So I don't know. Any final thoughts on the World Tournament EZs, y'all? Like anything you don't want to say, you weren't really saying much, right? Well, because I didn't really like call you to say anything, to be fair. But I know you did say that you weren't really like too knowledgeable on the characters themselves, right?
They're all mid.
Yeah. I mean, like that's the thing, right? It's like I feel like there isn't much to talk about considering it's like, you could talk about their kid all day, but it doesn't change the fact that you're not going to be using any of these guys. So, unfortunately,
exactly.
I think Boo and Gohan you can get.
Maybe Boo and Gohan, right? But the rest of them, it's like, what's the point at that rate? Because it's like, you're probably not going to use them anyway.
You're never using Jackie Chan, Super Vegeta.
Sucks.
I would use them if they still had the World Tournament category boost on the Zenny event. Then I would be cooking with my boy. Dude, that was like, it was so funny. Me and my buddy had like a duo alt account back in the day where we had like an account where we basically like, both played on it together. And I specifically set the Goten and Trunks, the AGL LR, because we happened to pull it on that account as the leader, just so every day I could have an LR boost for the Senny event.
Yes.
And honestly, it worked out great because I don't think I've ever ran out of Zenny. So
hell yeah. I think we talked about this before a while ago. I had a random person on my friends list. They hadn't this was a couple of years ago now, I think, before they revamped the was it the Daily Turtles shell event had like the Peppy Gals boost, and there was some random person on my friend list that had AGL Caulifla set as their friend, and they hadn't played the game for like 3 years, but I kept them on my list because every day when I did the Turtle Shell mission, there was always a Peppy Gals character that had an all types leader, so I could run my Peppy Gals team and get those bonus Turtle Shells. But I know we started to briefly talk about it at the very beginning when we were in the intro, so yeah, are you both still playing the World Tournament? Theo, are you grinding away still? What are you doing?
I'm not playing right now, but honestly, I was playing earlier.
What's
in the
your
podcast,
goal?
though, but
Yeah, have you got a certain point you're going
I
for?
don't know, man. Like, honestly, like there's some times when the world tournament comes around where I'm like, yeah, I'm super hyped. I mean, maybe that's something
Super
but, like, I'm
hyped,
excited. You know, I'm like excited to play it. Like, you know, like I'll get to the 20 million points, so on and so forth. But like, I'm honestly like, dog, at this point, I might just get like the 3 runs for the daily stones, just call it quits, because I just like, I just don't care, bro. I mean, to be fair, the nice thing is, at least, right, when you know, I can do it, you know, kind of like here and there, because the so nice thing about like modern world tournament, which is weird to say, but is the fact that, you know, obviously since we have Piccolo Jr., right, that unit makes world tournament a cakewalk, right? Like, it's literally playing world tournament on easy mode, basically. Like, I don't know, man. I feel like if you don't have that guy, it's just the biggest L when it comes to world tournament.
World tournament basically is now Piccolo Jr. active skill simulator. Like, it's just literally jump into fight, swipe up, win, repeat.
Win, yeah. Nah, I'd win.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nah. It's like, honestly, it is unfortunate, because I know that there are some people that don't have them. Funny enough, I think I saw a comment in the oh, sorry, Annie. I even saw like a comment earlier where someone was like, yeah, they need to remove Piccolo so people who don't have them have a chance. And I was like, dang, that's crazy. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's like, obviously he's just so prominent in World Tournament. I mean, obviously he's basically like the Broly of, you know, this current like period of World Tournament, basically, where Broly was like, you know, you're using Broly or you ain't playing World Tournament right, basically, right? Like, at this point, you know, that's essentially what you're doing with Piccolo.
Yeah, like he's just that tier above, because like there are other AoE units like that are either recent or even not so super recent who will like one shot all the enemies still. But like, he doesn't even actually need to super attack. You don't even need to worry about picking up the orbs. And like the biggest thing, if you go think back to the day, I see people all the time, people will come into, because I always stream every world tournament. I'm in the middle of doing a big weekend, like subathon thing. We had
it's free content. Why not, right?
Good stream today. So shout out to everyone that came out. We'll be back again tomorrow. But people always come in every time. Like I get like, what's the word I'm looking for? Every single time, I can't remember now, but like without fail, almost every world tournament stream, there'll be like one person that's like, oh, I haven't been around the world tournament in a while. Like, what are the teams? What are people using? Like, oh, people aren't using like Jacko and Chaozu anymore and stuff like that, right? For the free stun. And it's like, back in the day, we used to use them because it helped you save items, because we had some of these AoE units, like when LR Broly dominated the meta. But like, if you had a bunch of attacks in slot 1, you didn't want to run the risk of getting super attacked and losing your like streak. So you'd either use an item or you'd use those units that can stun the enemy. Whereas now, like, that's what I'm saying with Piccolo Jr. Like, you don't even need to actually attack. You just swipe up at the start of the turn and then you win. So,
so dude, like, I wish the World Tournament had auto so badly, dude, because the auto World Tournament would go I'm sure you could probably set up some kind of like auto clicker.
Dude, somebody told me in a stream, because if you think about every step you'd have to account for to do the moving around the map and stuff. But somebody in one of my streams, it was not, I think it might have been not last World Tournament, the one before, and told me that they did set up the auto clicker for it, and it took them something like almost 2 hours to get it fully programmed in for like every single bit. But then they ran it on auto for the entire weekend and finished in the top like 200 or 300 or something by it just playing it all by itself. So that's pretty cool, but I ain't doing that. That sounds like way too much.
I don't know. I know for me, if I ever did go that route, I just cap out at, you know, like the, like, you know, when you get the max amount of rewards from the like points or whatever, and then get out, because I feel like using an auto clicker on the World Tournament, obviously, I mean, it is literally cheating, right? It's not even like, you know, there's no sugarcoating it, like, you know, it is literally cheating in terms of like well, I mean, you know, like in terms of the ranking,
I mean, it technically is kind of cheating, no,
it's not technically, it is cheating, because it's just, you know,
World Tournament would be the one place where they especially wouldn't want you to use any auto clicking, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it's like, because the point is you're competing with other players, right? Obviously, it would be different if it was just the rewards on your own.
Yeah.
But and I mean, like, I don't blame people for using it because obviously World Tournament is like not fun, right? So I don't blame people who do it, right? Like, I get it, but it's just kind of like, I wish if people were going to use it for that sort of thing. I mean, obviously you can't stop people from using it for whatever they want, but it would just be nice if it was like, all right, you got all your awards and now, either you play the game or you get out. Cause at that rate, then it's like, it's not, I don't want to say it's not real, but like, you know what I mean? It's like the people who actually like work to play it are obviously getting shafted because of course, they are facing a bot, which they could never beat, Yeah. So either way though, it is at least super nice. Like I feel a lot more these days, to like more inclined to play World Tournament when it comes around. Because, like, there was even for a while, like, whenever it would, like, come out, I would just be like, even though I obviously have LR Broly, it's just like, man, I just don't feel like doing this, bro. Like, I don't have the mental fortitude for this, man. Yeah. I ain't doing nothing. But with Piccolo, it is just so much easier to justify, like, even doing a couple runs because, like, all right, hop in, swipe up, next.
Well, you think about now compared to back then, like, if we think about, like, the LR Broly meta, you think about now, not only do we have Piccolo, we also have the starting on times 30 straight away. If you compared to back then, made that change recently. Yeah, if you compared to back then, how many hours it would take you to get like the 30 million points and do 30 runs in a row or something from then to now. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like half the time or less now than it was then. Like, starting from times 30, you're practically getting, I mean, with the team that I run, obviously depends on your team score, you get more or less points per run. But with the team that I run, you basically get 1 million points-ish every single run. Yeah. So you get your 30 wins in a row, that gets you 30 million points. You've done all the missions. Like, if you just go at it flat out, which not everyone's going to do all in one go, you can do that in like 3 or 4 hours, maybe. So across the entire weekend, if that's all you want to do as the goal for the World Tournament, it's like an hour or two a day, which still is not too bad. Which still it can be a lot for a mobile game in general. This is the one thing that we've talked about before, right? Like the World Tournament is such a weird mode when you consider that almost everything else in Dokkan, you could like log in for the day, do your dailies, maybe do like, the new Infinite Dragon Ball History that's come out or something, and then turn it off and you've been playing the game less than an hour. But then there's one mode in particular that's like, hey, you want to get really high in the rankings and get these good rewards? Well, get ready to play it 10 hours a day for the entire weekend. Baby. It's like, what? So,
I agree. It's like, it is kind of funny. I mean, I suppose in a weird sort of way, World Tournament is probably like, because you know how obviously every like mobile game or gacha game has ways where they try and get you to stay on the game for a longer period of time, because obviously the idea is then you'll spend more money on the game. Ironically enough, like obviously, I mean, I know there's people who do buy stones for World Tournament, like stamina refresh, but like weirdly speaking, World Tournament is Dokkan's, is going to sound weird to say, but in the context, obviously it's Dokkan's best mode in terms of keeping you on the game, which is like really weird to think about, because obviously I
think that one thing is people really like PvP, or some people really want PvP in the game, and I think a lot of people would disagree with that, but this is Dokkan's closest thing to PvP in the game. True. So people are very competitive, may care about it a lot. And that's probably why, they removed something like Team Battle over World Tournament, is because there is people who actually really like World Tournament because, people are, some people may be competitive and like, the PvP kind of aspect to it, was it not being real PvP. I was just thinking about wanting to like point out about overall enjoyment of World Tournament and why some people actually make
the thing that's funny though as well is like you say, I know, and it is true, right? With any kind of games like this, they want to keep you on the game as much as possible so that you can potentially be drawn in for like the many things that they sell. It's why loads of different games, especially games that have battle passes, online games, stuff like that, you'll get like an advertisement for it pop up after every single match and things like that. But the funny thing is with Dokkan, it almost works the opposite. Like, apart from, like you said, the example of having to buy stones so you can refresh your stamina, because you have to go into the World Tournament mode and then it's like a self-contained thing, you're never like backing out to see like the things on the main menu or the shop. Because I know sometimes, like, if I'm in the middle of the grind and you're trying to maybe catch up the person who's above you in the local, if you press the wrong button and go back to the main menu, you're like, no, back into the World Tournament quickly. So you're staying on the game for longer, but you're not being shown the ads for like the banner and the sales and all that stuff.
That's true.
It's very weird. It is still, I know we've talked about it before and we've said it again today, but it's just such a weird mode for this game when you compare it to every single other mode in the game, because it just requires so much time if you want to get the top end results. But I think the takeaway, as we've said, with like the starting on 30%, times 30 even, the Piccolo Jr., they've massively reduced the amount of time it takes if you just want to get the bare minimum stuff, right? Which is, I would say, just doing the 30 million points and the 30 wins. They've massively reduced how much time it takes to do that. It's still longer than any other mode, obviously, but it's it's not as bad. And I feel like the Piccolo buff, if you want to call it that, has made
the World Tournament buff.
It's made it so almost like you just don't even have to think essentially anymore. It's like
you really don't.
You get that one time where it's like, oh no, Piccolo Jr. is not on the starting rotation. What do I do? Like, now I need to actually use a Ghost Usher or something. Like,
real raggy.
But
yeah, for real. Like, and the other thing is too, I know, people were like, semi joking about that earlier, like you got to remove him. But, especially with the combination of the 30 million points, like you're saying, because obviously that is like a huge, just like buff to being able to climb the ranks faster. I think that like just the fact that Piccolo is there, right, is honestly pretty insane from the perspective of like it really does save you a lot of time, right? Like, realistically speaking, even with like, if you're comparing like even just the usage time of using like Broly, right, like STR Broly, compared to using Piccolo as like your main like damage dealer, right? Piccolo is so much faster because obviously, like we were saying before, all you're doing is, opening it up and swiping up, right? Yep. You don't have to collect orbs for all your characters and then wait for the super attack to launch, right? And then you have to wait for Broly to do his whole super animation. And then obviously Broly supers twice, so then you have to wait for Broly to super again, right? From that perspective, it is literally like, I know it's sort of a meme when it comes to gacha games, but it is literally like the pay-to-play W of having Piccolo, because it's pay to win, right? You're literally like cutting off so many seconds off of your time. And if you're somebody who's playing World Tournament all weekend, those like seconds matter because they accumulate long term. So, it's just kind of crazy, honestly, the era of World Tournament that we're in, which is like really weird to say, but it's true. So,
I remember
though.
I remember one of the first World Tournaments I ever played, which was, I've been playing the game for a long time now. I think my total logins is up to like 2,800 almost at this point.
W.
But like, I remember one of the first World Tournaments I ever played, I didn't even have any AoE units. So this is back in the day where I'm using like the super class team with like super AGL Super Vegeta and like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta on it and stuff. Like, and you just have to hope that characters get an additional, because otherwise you're you're not going to kill the entire enemy team in even 2 turns, because everyone's only doing one attack, so they kill one enemy each.
I remember I used to run
That's funny.
the Batara team for a bit, where I had physical VB, AGL Super Vegeta.
Yep.
And then I just like
goated.
I just like got the counters and stuff like that and whatever.
Yeah, because that was great, because you could actually kill like the enemy team attacking you with the Super Vegeta counters and stuff, or physical Vegeta blow. Like,
additionals. That used to be pretty fun to do, but like that was like back before I had like Broly or anyone like that, or any really good AoEs at the time, which it was a different time, right? But
Yeah, well, I remember because
Yeah.
Broly was a global first, wasn't it? And he came out literally
Yep.
like the day before a world tournament started, or the day
Yeah.
of a world. I can't remember. And I
Yep.
back then because he was the first summonable LR for global as well. I know I've told this story before. I'm not sure whether it was on the podcast, but like it was so funny because I'd only just gotten into playing Dokkan. I'm pretty sure I didn't make content then, so. It was back in the day. I think the only people I'd even seen videos from was like Ryman Nano and then maybe D3, potentially Talon at that point as well. But it was one of those things where, you know, I was one of these newer players. I'm getting my news from the game from them and, you know, not checking, like I wasn't very active in the community on Twitter, wasn't like actively checking the wiki and stuff like that. And I just remember that day waking up, loading up the game for the first time. And I was making a cup of tea in the morning and I'm like, what is this Broly banner? Like there's a new Broly? And obviously back then, him being the first summonable LR on global, so it was the first time I'd experienced like a summonable LR. I pulled him with, I think, I don't know how many, I don't know how many stones I had. It might have been like 500 or something. So of course back then I didn't realize how much of a massive W that was. I just pulled him like straight away as a summonable LR.
like awesome.
And because I'd been playing it for a while and I was always grinding all the daily events and everything, I remember that being a big thing that people complained about when he first came out, is I actually had the medals and the Zenny to awaken him like straight away. But because it
you were cooking, bro.
I remember it was the same day as a world tournament because I didn't want to go through the hassle of grinding his super attack by farming the free-to-play event. So I awakened him into an LR and used him at SA1. And he still literally, he just one-shots everything. Like in that first world tournament when he was released.
Well,
and that was the new,
right?
Yeah, that was like, that was when the new meta had arrived. And from that point onwards, it was like STR Broly for the world tournament every week, or every world tournament for, God, I don't even know how long that meta, if you want to call it that, like actually lasted, the LR Broly. And then he got his Easy A, and of course immediately went back to being one of the best units to use for the world tournament. So, but yeah, now it's Piccolo Junior's time.
Yes, sir. The go. Honestly, like, okay, before we move on, this will be the last thing I wanted to ask you too, because I thought this was kind of interesting, because I was having a discussion with one of my buddies who doesn't have a Piccolo Junior. Shout out to the boy, rest in peace. Do you think, right, obviously not just taking World Tournament into consideration, of course, like taking into consideration also, you know, like what he actually does and, you know, like how relevant he still is and, you know, all that type of stuff. Do you think that he is worth the 400 red coins?
Ooh. I mean...
Junior?
Yeah, Piccolo Junior, yeah.
I would say, like, if you want to get a copy with him with red coins, that's fine. Because I know on Global, he's going to be on the Rugon banner in, like, what, a week and a half or so?
Okay.
So, that, like, I would not say it's, like, the worst idea. Because even at 55%, he's just fine in the World Tournament, right?
Yeah.
But it's, like, that's, like, at the same time, those could be 500 red coins for Gohan or something like that. Or,
I think,
you know, Broly. Because the thing is, at least there are plenty of other AoE options for the World Tournament.
Right.
So I wouldn't recommend it, but I'd be like, you know, I wouldn't be like, oh, you made a terrible decision, right? You know.
I think I would say similar but slightly different to that, in the sense that when you think about how good he is in terms of the meta now for, like, I don't want to say single player because the World Tournament's not multiplayer, but, you know, for like, you know, if you were to pick up a copy of him now and only have him at 55%, like say if you're on Global, and like Minato said, because I forgot, like he'll be on Harudegan's banner, so that'll be coming out in like 2 weeks or less on Global. I would say if you are not considering the World Tournament in any aspect, probably not worth picking up with coins, because at 55%, like the content that's going to be dropping with the anniversary, he's not going to be great, especially at 55%. And then, as Minato said, those coins, I generally feel most of the time, like when people ask me for advice about coins, for me, I think red coins should be saved for Dokkan Fest exclusive LRs. So obviously with the anniversary banners coming up, not only do they have a lot of strong LRs on them, but then of course if you don't pull Beast Gohan or Broly, then those, you're going to want to pick them up when they come back. But I would say on the flip side is if you're somebody who does want to play the world tournament, that sounds crazy to say, but if you're someone who wants to play the world tournament, or like you at least want to get those, you know, bare minimum rewards, but you don't want to put in all that extra work, then I would absolutely say like you should just get a copy of him, because even at 55%, the only time you're going to struggle is times 30 in the finals. You might not kill some specific physical enemies with his active skill, but then even if you don't, like he action breaks everybody on the turn, and then any unit that did survive, you're then just going to kill that unit with your attacks that follow up. So if you're thinking about in the world tournament specifically, I would say he's worth getting just to save yourself a bunch of extra headache. But other than that, especially if he is going to be just your first copy and you've only got the one, I think we're probably at a point now in the meta for the tough like end game content that is probably not worth it compared to everything else that's available at the moment. But what did you think about it then? Because I know you said you had the discussion. Do you think he is worth it, or?
Yeah, well, it's a bit of a weird one, right? Because it's like, on one hand, like he's definitely, even though he has certainly like, you know, in terms of like using him on difficult events and stuff, you know, he is definitely like fallen off like a little bit. Like he's definitely not like the worst option that you could pick, obviously, right? But he's definitely not the best option that you could pick at this point either. Like he's still good, but you know, it's just like, you know, there may be choices that you would pick over him depending on the event that you'd be using him for. I mean, more good villains is always a good thing. So like that part of him at least won't change, right? Because that is one advantage that he is obviously because he's extreme, right? That definitely puts him higher on the totem pole. I agree with obviously everything you said about in terms of like world tournament, right? Like certainly for you know, like if you want to get those points and, you know, if you want to, you know, like rank high, I mean, if you want to rank high for sure, then like you need him, like you literally do need him because, you know, there's no way that you'll be competing with, you know, these other people who have him if you don't have him. When it comes to just like getting the points, I mean, literally, if you want to avoid the headache and get him for like that reason, right, of just like having a better quality of life experience when it comes to world tournament, then yeah, I would say so. But I think that the huge like counter argument to that at the moment now is basically like, because Gohan Beast exists, right, it's kind of a thing where it's like, well, you know, I would say personally you should definitely just save your stones for that, because I know like my buddy was debating whether because he didn't have Forku, and I was like, dog, I'm going to be honest, I went through that whole arc with Forku and I used him a lot after that, and I'm telling you, he ain't worth it, unfortunately, at this point. Like, it's more worth it because of just how insane Gohan is. I genuinely think that it is just more worth it when it comes to like any coin usage, right? Whether it be Piccolo or otherwise, I think it's just more worth it to save your coins, even if you're missing some of these units, to just in case you don't get Piccolo, just in case you don't get Gohan, rather, to have the coins on hand. So then that way, right, like in case you don't pull him, then you have that that backup, right? You have that what's the word that I'm looking for? You know, like that just in case, basically, in case you're not able to get him, then, you know, you have the guaranteed later. Yeah. So personally, I guess with that being considered, right, I guess I would probably say no, unfortunately.
I think,
but you know, I think it's more so circumstance of the time of Dokkan that we're in, rather than me saying like, no, you shouldn't get Piccolo for that.
Plus, I think the thing I always try and say when people ask me about red coin usage, it's like, hey, Ningen, should I buy this guy with red coins? It's like, the thing I kind of always say is that the answer to that question is going to be potentially different for different groups of people. And it's not, some units are like, yes, this unit is so good, if you don't have them, get them with red coins. And those are the units who are like the best units in the game. But a lot of the time it comes down to how many coins do you have, But then the secondary is how regularly do you get coins? Because if you're somebody who is free to play and you save for like the couple of big celebrations a year, if you only have 400 coins and you buy Piccolo, like when are you going to have 400 coins again? It might not be for another like 6 months. And that's when you really need to think about like who you pick up with coins. Whereas if you're somebody who, you know, you're dropping like 1,000 stones on every banner, then you can afford to grab a unit with coins because you're going to have enough coins again within like 2 months potentially or whatever it is, right? So I think that is a huge dependent as well because, you know, Beast Gohan's going to come out and then he's not going to be available with red coins until he comes back, which for JP, of course, should be worldwide. But for global, of course, it won't be. So you do have time to save up coins if you don't pull him. But it just depends. Like, again, if you're someone who doesn't summon very often, like say if you're one of these people that, you know, we know that they exist for sure, you're free to play and you're saving everything for the anniversary, but you don't get him, then you're not gonna, it's not like you're gonna have multiple banners between then to stock back up on coins, because you've just spent all your stones and now you're relying on building up that free to play like nest egg again. Plus the other thing with coins is it's kind of annoying because they are a bit of a safety net, because I talked about it on my stream earlier, but I always end up having loads of coins because if I don't get a unit or I don't get dupes or something, it's like, right, I'll save my red coins for when this unit comes back. And then when they come back on the banner, I pull them multiple times before I pull the new unit. So then it's like, okay, well now I don't need to buy copies of them with red coins. So I'll save them for somebody else instead. And then I end up like having loads of red coins and nothing to spend them on unless I just buy dupes, which sometimes I will do depending on what it is. But I usually never bother to buy a unit with coins if I already have them with 2 dupes, because I like to get that second path unlocked. But yeah, it's like, also, you know, it should go without saying, of course, don't use your coins until you know you're done summoning, because the number of times I see people that are like, oh, I decided to buy this guy with coins, and then I did a YOLO multi, like, on the toilet, and I pulled 2 copies of him. It's like, well, don't spend coins until you start you're done summoning.
Exactly. 100%, Evan, you know, because you can't, or don't summon if you use coins.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because that's like, you know, with me, I know I always do that when it comes to my coin usage. It's literally like if I am not going to summon on this banner like whatsoever, I'm like, you know, I have already been like, yeah, I ain't spending a darn thing on this.
Yeah,
I'll, you know, grab the unit with a coin or you know, 2 or whatever, and then, you know, just won't summon, or obviously wait until you're like really, really done with the summons.
Yeah.
Because obviously, you know, that's the kind of funny thing about the coins as well, is that like obviously, you know, you're getting the unit with coins at the time that you're getting them, because of course you want to use the unit right when you get them with the coins, right? Because obviously technically you could wait again for when they would return and then potentially again, but then obviously, you know, there's also, you're running the risk of, you know, like just in case, you know, then obviously if you don't you know, like get the you know, if you don't get the unit again when they come out, then it's like, well, I could have had them if I would have got them with coins. But I guess it is that gamble. But I don't know. I always swear that when I buy a unit with coins, Dokkan's like, oh, okay, you wanted the unit, and then gives you like 1 million copies the next time they come back. That's just funny gotcha game.
I think it happened with the Go Bros, right, where I pulled 1 copy of them from their initial banner. And then when they came back on a banner, I either didn't do many summons or I just didn't pull any extra copies of them. So I bought 2 copies so I could get them up to 79%, get their 2 paths unlocked. And then I think, if I'm remembering the timeline correctly, I think they then returned on like the Bardock Saiyan Day banner or something. And then literally I pulled like 5 copies of them. And it was just like... It's like, bro, it's like I only needed 2, and I literally bought 2 copies of them with coins like 3 months ago or something. And I pulled like 5 copies of them.
The timeline was they came out early for Global in May. Then the Tanabata banner itself came out in December for Christmas and Global. Then they returned for Saiyan Day like they always do because they're the Tanabata unit. And that was like a 3 months difference, and that's what happened
Yeah.
with you right there.
But yeah, I swear, like that exact same thing happens. It's like you finally decide to buy a unit with coins, and then the next time they come back on a banner, you pull like 4 copies of them or something. Like,
yeah, and it's like, bro, really? Come on, man.
Yeah,
it is funny, but that's why I'm fine with that because I like holding on SSRs and TURs of copies anyways. So that's just a me thing. And I guess for you, you're probably like, well, I guess I'm saving some for their EZA or whatever.
That's right, Benny. I got my SA5 copy of Super Vegeta, both of them. I've got SA5 copies of both of them ready to go.
I simply use guys. I don't care.
I mean, you get enough of them, right? Especially for the TUR EZAs, you literally get enough of them, and then like 6 extra if you want to just use guys on them. But
to just be able to do that.
But you got to flex. You don't get to having what am I at now? Like 1,400 Kais.
That's disgusting.
By spending your Kais.
That is disgusting. And I thought I had a lot, bro. That's rancid.
I've got 100 of each of the type ones as well.
You should do like some kind of thing where you're like, I have the world record amount of Kais.
Dude,
I don't know how you would like do that. But
there's a guy who was a regular in my chat who at some point, we're talking like months ago, had almost like, I think he might have had actually over or almost 2,000 of them. So because because I use some of them sometimes, right? Because obviously the point is, if you've got so many, like I do use them sometimes, but he not only was hoarding them and obviously getting the ones from the shop and like the farmable currency when there's a new story event, but then he would also always farm everything, every single thing that was farmable he would do.
That's
where crazy. Even the ones that are a nightmare, where it's like a free-to-play unit that you have to awaken 3 times or something, and you have to do that for like 9 copies, which I did in the past. That's why I have so many Kais now. Because I did the stuff when Super Saiyan 3 Broly came out, grinding that free-to-play one that awakens from base into Super Saiyan into a Super Saiyan 3. And I did that like 9 times. So I did that back in the day so that I don't have to do it now.
Right, yeah.
Because, there's nothing worse than... that was the big downside to when I was trying to do stuff on my JP. It's like when you have a new-ish account and you just don't have any Kais. And especially with some of these big banners now with the anniversaries and stuff. If you're a new player, you start playing, like say you start playing for the 9th anniversary on Global and you pull like all 4 of the headliner LRs. It's like, well, now you need 36 Kais if you want them all to be SA20. Like, good luck with that. But yeah.
That's like the new King Vegeta, right? Technically, he's farmable with the Super Strike one.
Yeah, but he drops as like an SR, so it's like
so you have to get the 100%. You have to go through the SR and then the SSR and then the TUR and then like the Super TUR, whatever it is, like the TTUR for him.
I just use Kais on him.
Yeah, that honestly, I don't even blame you because like I didn't remember how it worked because I hadn't done that with a Super Strike in so long. Yeah, and I was like, let me like awaken one of them and just like see what percentage we're at. And I was like, oh, it's one of these units. All right, never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good. But anyway,
I mean that's fun. So. Yeah, again, just World Tournament Shenanigans, red coins, etc. We got a little tangent there, but
always fun.
Pretty fun discussion overall for sure.
Yes, sir.
So, all right, there is the last part of the show, which is the favorite part of the show. This is the Trash Takes segment.
Yes, sir.
Woo! Oh, yes.
Yes. So, funny enough, technically I was supposed to pick it, but then Dokkan asked, it's like the same night was like, oh, we should do this one. I was like,
oh, you didn't have to take it. It's okay. I
liked it a lot.
Good,
technically,
good.
Dokkan assets picked this one.
Let's go, baby. So if mine's terrible next week, count this one as mine.
Yeah, okay, sure, buddy. Okay, man.
No, we can switch. Pick one for me next week. We'll flip flop.
Well, no, I think he was saying, and I kind of agree, is you sort of pointed it out, was like, hey, look at this one, and we're both like, oh, okay, this one's kind of cool. So, because I wouldn't say necessarily, because we've talked about this before, right? I don't want to give anyone a sort of preconception of the take, but like we've talked about many times before that sometimes the trash takes are trash, as the name would suggest, but sometimes they're not, and sometimes they're quite interesting. So I thought this one was quite interesting. So Minato, I'll throw it up on the screen. But yeah, here you go.
So yeah, with this trash take, reading it out here, This take. Skipping the 9th anniversary and the worldwide celebration for the synced 10th anniversary is not only an option, but a necessity for global free-to-play players. With the few stones available, sacrifices have to be made. Plus, they will all return on the year 10 banners anyways. And to clarify on that, right, just expand on that. For JP, let's say for the 9th anniversary, we had the 8th anniversary units return, and the worldwide celebration units also returned on the 9th anniversary banners. So let's say GT Duo, DBZ Duo, Zamasu, and Vegito. Then we also had Future Gohan and the Sword of Trunks return. All of those during the 9th anniversary. So what this take is essentially saying here is that almost coughed. During the 10th anniversary, what's likely going to happen? In fact, wait, to confirm, did Kai Goku and the Dragon Ball Z Gohan also return? Let me double check that because I don't know. I don't remember if the 9th anniversary. Yeah, the 8th anniversary
JP.
carnivals, they did also return.
Mm.
So all the 8th anniversary LRs and all the worldwide LRs came back on the 9th anniversary banners. So what this take is saying is the 9th anniversary LRs and the worldwide celebration LRs are scheduled to return, all of them on the 10th anniversary banners together, which is going to be same time on global, and it's going to be 6 months ahead of what the usual global schedule is going to be, because the games are going to be synced up in terms of the schedule itself.
Yeah.
So what this take is saying is skipping the 9th and worldwide, the 9th anniversary and worldwide celebration would be the best cost for your stone, because the 10th anniversary is going to have all of those plus the brand new 10th anniversary units.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I'll let Dokkan Assets go off. I know because you picked the tweet, but I just want to say, to make people very aware, remember that they are specifically talking about global, and the reason why, Minato did kind of allude to it, but the main reason why is, of course, for global, we're going to have the anniversary in July, then we're going to have the worldwide celebration in like August to September time. But then for us, we are then going to have the 10th anniversary in February. So basically within like 6 months of having the 9th anniversary, we're going to have the 10th anniversary. So what they're saying is, obviously, if you're going to go like all in on the anniversary and then potentially dump any extra stones you've got then on the worldwide celebration, then suddenly there's another anniversary in 6 months. And if you're free to play, you're going to have like, what, 500, 600 stones maybe? But whereas if you don't, then this banner kind of... So I can kind of see what they're going for, but I kind of wanted to get that in there before I posted the poll based on some of the initial reactions. But yeah, Theo, like, what was your thoughts behind when you first saw this one?
So at first, like... and also to add on to your point real quick before I say it, there's also like... I know, of course, this chat, we love our Dragon Ball heroes in here, so I'm glad that is getting brought up as something you have to summon on. But also New Year's would be
Heroes
like right
mentioned
before anniversary as well. Heroes mentioned, baby. But yeah, like obviously the New Year's units come right before, which I mean obviously aren't must summons, but that was really only Gohan and Piccolo that they were like, you know, you gotta have them. Maybe more so Piccolo than Gohan. But sorry, Gohan least. But right, when it comes down to it, right, with this take, so I first read this and I was like, huh? But then, like, I thought about it a little bit more, right? And I was like, I see kind of the chat is sort of having the same deliberation that it seemed like I was when I was, first saw this take. It was the type of thing where it's like, you see it and you have that knee-jerk reaction of going like, this is insane to say. But then you think about it a little bit more and you're like, you know what? I see the vision, right? I kind of get it, right? I kind of understand what they're going for. And to be honest with you, I kind of don't disagree, all things considered, right? Because, you know, like Minato said, right, all of the units that obviously are these big boy characters that we have been hyping up for the 9th anniversary, right, are going to be returning on the 10th anniversary. And with how much people have been, like, not only just like as a community we've been discussing it, but really they seem to be making a big deal out of this, right? Like, Dokkan official people, right? They really seem like that they have been really hammering home, hey, 10th anniversary is going to be something that you're gonna not want to miss, right? They have been making it infinitely clear from basically the first time, right, that we had like that initial roadmap of the sync, that they were already like, yeah, 10th anniversary, right, is when we have everything planned up to, right, in terms of like what the current content in the game is planned till. Which, like, obviously is like raised a lot of eyebrows. Like, why the heck would they even mention 10th anniversary when 9th anniversary wasn't even like extremely close at that point? And not to mention, even since then, they've constantly brought up 10th anniversary over and over and over, right? And not to mention, right, obviously, because it is the 10th anniversary of a gacha game, usually when you get to an anniversary of something that is like a 10th celebration or like a 25th celebration, right, it's like those big numbers that a lot of the time people make a really big deal out of when it comes to an anniversary for something. So with that being said, right, I think it makes sense that obviously 10th anniversary is going to be, super hype. And definitely something worth saving for. Now, obviously, this is a little bit of a tricky one because, I saw some people in the chat saying it, and obviously this is like kind of true, right? It's like almost like asking you to not play the game for like a whole year, right? It's like, yeah, you basically are not going to be able to, experience any of the new content, get any of the new units, right? Any of that, right? You're basically just restricting yourself to, obviously only being, dedicated to saving at that point. And obviously that would then depend on your dedication and your gambling addiction. Because like, right at that point, it's like, well, how much can you hold back saving when they release these banners that are going to be, exciting to, partake in, right? And I don't know. Obviously, when it comes to the content in Dokkan, the thing is, right, there will always be a new unit that will be better than the current unit in the game. So, like, obviously, it kind of depends on the person you are in that regard, because obviously it's like, well, yeah, you could, of course, right, like, obviously end up, right, like playing these new events and not being able to beat them. But at the same time, right, you could always just save the events to do later, right? You could always just not do them right away and then do them later. Now, obviously, that's a lot asking somebody to wait like a whole year to play the brand new event. But it is, like it's a possibility, right? Like it's not, out of the realm of question. I think the other thing to consider as well for global, and I see some people talking about it, and it was one thing that I actually wanted to bring up in this discussion, because obviously a whole point of contingency for this take is Gohan Beast obviously being as cracked as he is, right? Because I feel like personally, and again, I am definitely a Gohan Beast like fanboy, right? But obviously it is, like everybody and their mother agrees that he's the best in the game, right? Like no questions asked. And when it comes to a unit like that, where it's just so powerful that like, the power creep is just that insane, where it's like a unit that you almost like need to have on your account, right? Where people are considering this guy to be like, the second coming of STR Gogeta, and whether that is like, true or not, the fact that it's like a real possibility, right, should say something to the strength of the character. So I think that when it comes to that regard, right, the important thing to remember for that, if you wanted to snag him, is the fact that Global has tickets, right? Obviously, Global will have tickets. Now, obviously, you wouldn't be getting tickets if you're not summoning. I mean, besides, obviously, the ones that they get for free. But, you also have that 77, it was the 77 characters, I believe. That's how many characters it was, right? That big boy ticket multi in the anniversary that you could use on any of the banners, right? Obviously, all of those you get for free, right? You don't have to summon any to be able to get the tickets for that, right? So if you don't want to save, there are still options to be able to get the character. Obviously, if you are somebody who spends a little bit, this probably doesn't affect you as much. But, if you are like a dolphin or a guppy, as we like to say, right, you could always just get the ticket packs and then save your stones up for that 10th anniversary. So obviously that was a very long-winded explanation, all to say that honestly, right, I think that this is a pretty wise decision. And as somebody who obviously has been like looking at this and thinking about it a lot, personally, I would say this is a W take, which I know it seems pretty divisive amongst the comments, but I would personally say this is a pretty W take. If you are free to play, obviously, this is really like a conversation in terms of people who aren't spending on the game. But like, because it's all about that thing where, it's that difference of like how you have fun with the game type of thing, right? It's like, do you have fun summoning on every single banner and then you maybe get, 1 out of every like 10 or, like 2 out of every 10 or whatever. And obviously it's all luck based. So, it just depends on if you get lucky or not. But, are you somebody who enjoys summoning on every banner and then you might not necessarily get the character because you're thin for stones, right? Like then 24/7 because you're obviously using the stones that they give you almost as soon as you get them? Or are you somebody who feels like that the game is more fun for you when you summon on these like big boy unit banners with a bunch of stones that you have, and then you have characters that will give you more longevity when difficult content comes out, right? Because obviously you'll have all of these, you'll have all of these big boy characters who, realistically speaking, right? Like for, like Vegeta's obviously very good, right? But for some of these monthly Dokkan Fests, right? You either will try them out once and then never use them again, or maybe use them for one specific event, right? It obviously depends on the Dokkan Fest because, it depends on how good they are. But obviously just looking at, like years past, right, that just seems to be the case, from what we've seen throughout Dokkan's history. But obviously these big boy units like the anniversary characters, right, will obviously help you a lot more long-term by, helping you with a lot more content in the game than some of these characters that you might not end up really using. So that's everything that I got to say. I know it was a very long-winded one, but seeing this one, I was like, oh, I'm excited to talk about this. So whichever of you wants to take up the reins next, go for it.
Yeah, I think I said I would say I see where they're coming from with this take specifically. I feel like it just makes a lot of sense, really, where you could skip the 9th anniversary and then worldwide, and then you get all those characters plus the new character during the 10th anniversary. It's not a bad idea. I know that a lot of people won't be up to doing that, but I think if we're talking about purely the facts in terms of what would be the best way to use your stones, then that would be the ideal way to use your stones in best case saving scenario, right? But I would not say it's a necessity, because just because you summon on these 9 and worldwide celebration doesn't mean that you're going to use all the stones that are there, and maybe you're just going to want to summon on one banner. Maybe someone is like, okay, I'm still going to summon, but I'm going to summon on the Beast Gohan banner. And then for worldwide, I don't know, maybe worldwide is Frieza and Goku, and then I'm gonna summon on the Frieza banner. And then after that, I could save the rest of the stones. And the next 6 months will be saved for anniversary, 10th anniversary, and then also have a lot of stones, and I could still get those characters during then, which I think is fair, right? But I wouldn't say, like, again, it's a necessity to skip those 2 celebrations,
Yeah.
especially considering how hype it is. But I think the idea of it is a really good idea if you have the like mental fortitude to just not summon while you're seeing everyone else using the unit, which at the end of the day, like you said, that gets into like FOMO, fear of missing out,
Yep.
everything like
Yep.
that. But I think it's pretty like a good idea, honestly. I would I honestly might recommend that in my videos, but like
Yeah.
you could also wait for the 10th anniversary where all these units return. It's really good.
Yeah.
And again, it's summoning on 4 banners during the anniversary rather than it'd be 12 banners essentially if you summon on 9th worldwide and the anniversary 4
Right.
banners, because all those celebrations will have 4 banners separately. So
I think
Yeah.
I think it's that word that's the key, is that word necessity, right? Because I think
Yeah.
it's like we can all pretty much agree that like this is a pretty good take, but saying it's a necessity, I don't think is necessarily correct.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that's where it's like, if we were, because we'd say this a lot sometimes, where sometimes we look into the Taken and like the full detail, and it's like I kind of agree with the gist of it, but not necessarily how they've worded it. But yeah, because it says not only an option but a necessity. I feel like, but then again, it is caveated, of course, by saying that it's for free to play players, because
Right.
you know, a lot of people in the chat, the initial response is like, oh, so you know, you just don't get to play the game for a year or something. But it's like, you're still playing the game, you're still playing all the anniversary content, you're getting all the stones, you're getting the tickets to do the free ticket summon. But unfortunately, when you're a free to play player, that kind of is the case for you got to focus on where is the best place to use your stones. I mean, you don't have to, and it's like Theo said, right? If you want to summon on every banner, but because you're free to play, that means you get to do like maybe 3 or 4 multis on every banner. So 9 times out of 10, you don't pull the new unit. Then, you know, if you don't mind playing the game that way, then that's fine, right? Everybody experiences the game in their own way. And I've said many times before, we've said it on the show before, like, you summon for whatever characters you want. Just obviously then don't be that person that turns around and complains or gets like angry at the game when the anniversary does come and you don't pull Beast because you only had like 400 stones because you summoned on every single Dokkan Fest between January and the anniversary for Global, right? So it's just kind of, it all works in different ways depending on how you experience the banner. And I think the big thing is, we talked about people will always say save for the next big thing, because every anniversary you could just turn around and say, well, actually just save for the next anniversary because those units will be better. But the thing that makes the big difference here is when you specify that it is for global, because we're basically going to get another anniversary within 6 months rather than within another year, right? That's the big difference, and it's only going to be this year. And then obviously we go to being synced and everything changes, and, you know, will be a sort of new meta for the game in general. But yeah, for global, the fact that you, as Minato said, it's like 12 banners. If you think about the 10th anniversary, you've got 4 banners for the 9th anniversary, 4 banners for the worldwide celebration, and then 4 banners for the 10th anniversary. And that's all within 6 months for global. But those 4 banners for the 10th anniversary will have all of those 12 banners worth of characters on them. So yeah, if you're free to play, I would say, depending on the amount of stones that you can accumulate and the amount of stones you have, I think the caveat I would say to this take is, if you are free to play and you've been going on the whole like save for the anniversary train, depending on how many stones you have when the anniversary rolls around, you're probably going to be able to do some summons. Like if you're rocking up to the anniversary with like 3,000 stones, I don't think you're going to say, actually, no, save all of those for the 10th anniversary.
Right.
But if you want to drop,
and not
like,
to mention they give out a lot too, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
This will be the last anniversary where Global will get discounts on tickets, likely.
Potentially, yeah, exactly.
Potentially,
at the bare minimum, I see Global getting the discounts.
Yeah.
And I think 100% do those discounts, right? I think that'd be a smart thing to do. But again, even if we want to like focus on one banner, like maybe you'll just get, okay, I'm just gonna get Beast Gohan because he's just gonna let me like destroy this new content, right? 100%. Even though you don't need them, they help you like put in the new characters. And honestly, if you get Beast Gohan, you could run Gogeta as a friend leader, because the fact is, you know, Gogeta will be in superheroes. There's a lot of movie heroes, superhero overlap. You get the Krillin 18 banner unit, which is really good. You can run the Gammas as a friend lead. So if you want to use those anniversary characters, you could like focus on the Beast Gohan banner, who is arguably just the best unit for the anniversary.
Yeah.
And then you could use both Gogeta and what's his face, the Gammas as your friend leads, and you can build some interesting teams that way.
Yep.
If you really wanted to use those characters as well, then I guess Broly, you'd kind of be like, well, but you know, oh well, for Broly,
my go, unfortunately. And you know, I think the other thing, actually, like that is,
I mean, you could probably make a team with Broly, because
You can make it
Broly
work,
is
yeah.
under Gohan's leadership if you really wanted to, but just wouldn't be as good as the others, probably.
Yeah. But I think that like the problem is, right, bro, that hurts. I always hate hearing about it because I was like, man, I went in so deep for Broly because he's still like really good, but it's just,
He's so great.
all the
Dude, I love
around
Broly.
him.
I feel like he gets mad, like underrated.
I think he gets
Absolutely.
so bad.
disrespected as
Absolutely.
well.
Yeah.
I think the Broly slander is way too much, honestly. But right, I think that the other thing is, and I hate saying this because I swear it always makes I don't want to sound all like high and mighty because I play JP, but I do think that also it is a little bit of a thing of it's like I don't know if quite yet, just because obviously people some people obviously didn't download JP and try them on a private server or like whatever the case is, but I do think it also might be a case of people not quite understanding just how powerful Gohan Beast is yet, because obviously they haven't gotten a chance to use him because they don't play JP. Because obviously everybody's been saying it, right? And you would think with showcases and obviously if you get to try the unit, people would understand. But obviously, I think it's always a case of global players kind of have a disadvantage in terms of the knowledge because of course they're not on the the same time period. I don't know what to say. It's saying the same level doesn't sound right, but you know what I mean. It's not the same level of power, I guess, that JP is on, at the time that, of course, they're seeing these units come out to JP. So the power creep might not be as understandable, or just obviously having hands-on experience will always be more beneficial than somebody telling you that it's good. So I think that factor also, kind of being there a little bit, I think they play him where it's you have to kind of look at what's happened so far this year and what's happened in Dokkan history with units that are or have been, close to the power of Gohan Beast, and realize that these 10th anniversary characters are going to be characters that you need and are going to be characters that will stand the test of time for a long time and will be relevant for, potentially years. So I think that is just something that you really have to think about and analyze when you're looking at something like this, to think about, hey, these guys are really going to be that worth it for you. And if you miss out on them, it is going to be, a huge L. So I think that is also something to keep in mind, is you have to just look at how things have gone in the past to then analyze what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, definitely an interesting one. Shout out to everyone in the chat voting on the poll. As we always say, if you're watching back the VOD or listening to Spotify, do check out the live show if you can. Take part in the poll during the segment. We have the result being 64% W. So
dang,
yeah, interesting. I think it's like a lot of things. I think with some of these where we dive into the detail is just like Theo said, it's your knee-jerk reaction. As soon as you see when somebody says skip anything that is remotely hype, people are immediately like, what? But then when you think about it, and especially with the details, with it being global specifically, and if you're free to play, it does kind of make sense. So it's certainly an interesting one. It always feels bad to skip hype stuff, but with the way this extra, essentially extra anniversary comes so quickly for global, it's certainly an interesting strategy if you are free to play. But there you go. So yeah, shout out to Kev.
Thanks, Kev. It's definitely that FOMO, bro. That's the worst part about playing gacha games is FOMO, really, because that's what that's the thing that always makes you really dang, I need to get this character, because you obviously don't want to miss out on the the time that they're relevant for when everybody's using them.
Yep, exactly. So. But we'll see. Again, there's still a few months for things like this to pass by, and we'll wait and see how things go. But that is it for the trash take segment, y'all. Pretty good this time, I would say. Pretty good one. Thank you, Kev, for giving us this take today.
Yeah,
thank you, Kev.
And yep, to end off the stream here, we will of course be doing the donations that we read out at the end of the stream, which Ningen does have pulled up on the side.
I do indeed. So yeah, shout out to everybody for helping to support the podcast. As always, is very much appreciated. Shout out to Philip Rodriguez with the 5 gifted memberships for the channel. I appreciate you. We have our boy Drace with the $2 dono. He says April 1st coming up, Dokkan Fest exclusive and part 2 LR prediction. So Minato, I know you already said Bio Broly. What's his part 2 LR? What's his part 2 LR going to be though?
Let's say Bio Broly, part 2 LR, base Broly that transforms into Legendary Super Saiyan for movie 8.
I mean, that would actually be cool.
Happens,
more hype than Bio Broly.
What happens is we'll get Super Easy A for movie 8 Broly, Tech Broly's Easy A, and then Goten and Trunks is Easy.
Could you imagine, like, that celebration, especially if Bio Broly was good, that celebration technically on paper would be so good, but at the same time I'd be so mad because it's a Bio Broly celebration.
Bio Broly.
It's the April Fool's Dokkan Fest, okay?
Theo,
it's gonna Bio Broly. I know it's gonna be Bio.
Right, Theo, what you got? Prediction. Let's go.
Man, if we're talking like joke Dokkan Fest, I don't know, bro. It's kind of a hard one to say because there's so many like good options. I don't know. I still like. I don't know if they would actually do it as a Dokkan Fest. I feel like this would be more of a free card, but I'm gonna say it as a pipe dream anyway, even though it's not realistic. I want Super Saiyan Hercule.
I knew you were gonna say that,
man.
Let's go.
I want him so bad, dude. Like, it would just be one of the funniest cards in the game. And if they like actually put him on Super Saiyans, oh my gosh, dude, it would be great. Yeah. I would love that so much. They could then do like I don't think they would do a part 2 LR Beavis
because like I don't think for part 2.
Yeah, LR Beavis, bro. I think that they would maybe do like a free card of him because I think like a Super Saiyan Hercule, I think genuinely would sell like just because it's so funny. You know?
I think that a Dokkan Fest Hercule and then Esther Vidal's EZA is like an idea I had.
That is a good idea.
That could be April Fools, right? Yep. I think that could work, right? Because like for April Fools, they usually pick like these like less exciting characters for their overall community. But, some people might be excited for Hercule Dokkan Fest, I guess, right? Some people may be excited for Bob Broly, I guess. Probably not many, but
Mr. Baby will be.
Yeah, Mr. Baby would be excited for Bob Broly Dokkan Fest.
I think the one thing we're overlooking, you both made 2 major mistakes there in the fact that the April, remember what happened with Kale? So what's going to happen is the April Dokkan Fest will be a certain character, and then the part 2 LR will be a completely unrelated unit that doesn't go on their team.
Being fair, it's possible, but keep in mind, Raditz' part 2 the year before was related.
Oh yeah, that is true. But yeah,
so
we don't want a repeat of Kale and Super Boo, but
it depends.
All right,
I forgot that was April.
I know,
dude. Actually, hold on. Someone in the chat said Dokkan Festorale. I would love that, dude, so much.
I wish, but
and then bring back the Arale cards and give them all easy.
Exactly.
Look, I would love that, but
they'll never do it. Unfortunately.
You know what would be cool? I think that what would be interesting, because I know we've talked about before, I think, how it's not really been in any other official Dragon Ball media until recently. They made a card in the physical version of the Dragon Ball Super card game. I don't know if it's in the digital one yet. Imagine the April, we keep saying April Fool's Day because it does come out on the 1st, but it's not always like an unserious character, right? Like Kale is an unserious Dokkan Fest. Imagine if it was a Dokkan Fest false Super Saiyan Goku, and then the part 2 LR is LR Lord Slug.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Because both of those units could be super good.
Goku and Dokkan.
Probably, but
that'd be cool.
Make it full Super Saiyan. That'd be cool. Give him a new. I mean, a lot of people, I'm sure, would be like, "Oh, it's another Goku," but it'd be kind of cool if it was actually full Super Saiyan.
If it was a different name, yeah. But what is his name of the card game?
I'm not sure. Let me look up the card.
Yeah, you'd have to look it up, because that would be the thing, right? Like if he is just called Goku, then like that would be an L. But if he was called Super Saiyan or false Super Saiyan or something like that, right? Then that would be cool.
That sounds more like more like June Dokkan Fest to me, where it's like where Turles' spot was. That feels more like June Dokkan Fest than April Dokkan Fest.
That's fair.
Do you get my vibe with that?
Okay, the card in the super card game is just called Goku. because the card is called Son Goku Smashing Limits, and it's the full Super Saiyan Goku. So but I mean, obviously, it doesn't necessarily mean Dokkan would also just call him Goku. But if another game has,
just make it
what, bro? Are you kidding me? It's Amatsu. Of course, he's gonna call it just Goku.
I mean, I think it could just be Kaioken and Goku, right? But like, I feel like April Dokkan Fest. That not really. I think like June Dokkan Fest.
No, you know what would be peak? So obviously we all know, I mean, if it is true, which I think it is because it gets repeated all the time, we all know the legend of full Super Saiyan, right? Is the fact that the people in the movie were like, people that made the movie, Super Saiyan hadn't come out yet, so they didn't know what it was going to look like. They didn't know it was going to have yellow hair, so they just gave him spiky hair and a power-up. Imagine if we get a Dokkan original where it's Goku from the Lord Slug movie with animations from the Lord Slug movie, but he's actually a Super Saiyan with the yellow hair.
Sick.
That'd be cool.
That would be cool.
That would be cool.
That'd be a very interesting like Dokkan original.
Yeah. What if?
And then LR Lord Slug for part 2. We finally get a new good Lord Slug because he buffs a lot of extreme categories. I think that would be kind of cool. Mm-hmm. Give him a giant form, basically make him extreme LR Piccolo, right? And then he could be
sad though, because I kind of want the April Fool's Dokkan Fest to either suck or be a character.
Yeah, true, but that could be cool.
I'd be I'd be sad. I mean, the idea is cool.
It's so funny. Like, I swear all the time we're like, we don't want units to be bad. We want units to be good. But the one time we want the units to be bad because it's funny.
I mean, the unit could still be good, but just the choice being a funny unit, I think would be fun.
Yeah,
be fun.
It's either the choice has to be funny unit or the unit has to suck. Like if Rose comes on an April Fool's.
Oh my god, the memes,
bro!
I would have so much fun. Yes.
Twitter.com will be insane that day.
I would have so much fun.
Okay.
Because I love Rose, but physical Rose, I may be a little bit of a hater, but for good reason.
Nah, he's underrated.
Underrated, yeah. Okay, bro. Watch him take that 700k damage from Rose AoE.
Rose AoE, what?
Wait, Gogeta's AoE.
Rose
AoE. Okay. Oh my god, the hardest type disadvantage boss that does AoEs is bad at getting. What a surprise. But
that was a joke, but I
know. But shout out to Drace for that one. There's definitely a lot of interesting things that it could be. We shall wait and see, because as we said, next time I think actually we might have said this before we started recording, but by next week's episode we should at the very minimum have the Dokkan Fest event teaser for JP. Obviously for global we should just be getting the confirmation that it will be Hirudegarn and Dragon Fist Goku. So by the next episode we'll either know who the unit is or have a very good idea based on the Dokkan event teaser. So we will talk about that more next week. So shout out to Drace.
He might be in the data download next week. Well, he should. We're going to have a data download next week, and the April Fool's Dokkan Fest is going to be in there. So if it's on the 28th, the data download, then it's like, okay, well, we know who's going to be in the full details. So.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess we'll find out, and we can talk about that next week. So shout out to Drace. Shout out to Socrates for the $5 dono. The problem I have is his aging potential is curbed by the 5th. Oh, we're talking about Super Vegeta. So the problem I have is his aging potential curbed by the 5-turn guard fall off. His kit should have had multiple options for his restriction. I think.
I mean, we say that, but it's like, what if the next content is short content again? Then it's like, then he ages really well. It depends on what the devs do. We're not, because I think people have, because events are longer than they were during pre-9th anniversary. But people think that now it's like, 5 turns guard sucks now. It's not ideal, but it doesn't suck.
Yeah,
because it's like, let's say, even if you get this guy in like slot 7, his guard lasts for the rest of the fight anyways. But like, let's say even you get him turn 1. Turn 1, he has the guard, and then he'll have it on turn 3, and then turn 5 will be the last one he has the guard. But then if you float him off, then he won't return until turn 8, and that'll be the last turn of most events. The only event that'll last longer than that is the Gogeta fight, and then the movie boss's red zone. Everything else still ends in 5 to 7 turns, compared to Fusions of Monster ending in 3-4 turns at most, right? These fights are longer, but they're not long enough to where 5-turn guard sucks now, right?
Yeah,
it's just not ideal. It should have honestly been guaranteed, but I think that's people's like mindset. The content is much more expansive than just long content. They also introduce short content, medium term content, and I think that's where people are getting tripped up with how the 9th anniversary content operates.
Yeah, because like if the next set of content is even longer events, then of course he's not going to age well. But then if the next set of events is like short content and the new hardest event is like a physical boss, then it's a different story. So be interesting to see. I guess it's one of those things. It's hard to guess how well a unit will age until we see what the next set of content will be. But
with how good the 9th anniversary content is, I feel pretty confident that they'll keep like a trend of that, hopefully, where it's like they introduce a mix. Because I'm sure a reason why the 9th anniversary content is so good is they had to have received feedback on how they handled the content during Worldwide, and people didn't like how they handled it at all.
Yep, I agree.
Like I'm very confident both GP and global players gave feedback on that.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess we'll see. I mean, of course, he's not even in the game yet. It's kind of funny to talk about how well he's aged. It will age when he's technically not even out yet. So I guess we'll we'll see. I'm sure you guys will see a lot of showcases across the board from Minato and others as well. I mean, I'll cover the global events, but we'll get to see how well he does in some of the JP content coming up very soon. So shout out to Socrates for that one. And then we have one from Talas as well, the 10 super chat, which is also about Super Vegeta. I think Super Vegeta is fine. I wish he was better, but we had broken abilities on day one, or he had broken abilities on day one. Can't wait for people to get mad when Tech Gohan only gets 58% attack and defense on super and a medium chance to additional. Because
the thing is that even with that, like on the easy stats, like his design is so good that he probably would just be really good against him.
It is quite fun. I mean, you can almost still get away with using him in some events now, right? Like
I feel like 9th anniversary is where he really is getting a little stopped down.
Yeah.
Like for the first time, I'm like, okay, I actually
a long time, which is kind of funny. Yeah,
but it's like
aged
give him
so
easy
well.
stats and even 58% attack and defense on super. That's multiplicative. That if he has like 500k defense start of turn, he'll get up to 750k that turn plus tax. So.
Yeah, so he's an interesting. I mean, Super Vegeta. It's funny because Super Vegeta was considered the best TUR when he released, although it wasn't for a huge amount of time because unfortunately he was one of those units that came out not super long before the red zone, and then was then kind of not good enough really.
I mean, it was 6 months.
First. It's not bad, but he's. We'll wait to see. I mean, I'm looking forward to testing him out. It'll be very interesting for the global content side, as we said already, because, with the AoEs especially, you have units like the Tech Vegeta holding down slot 1, and then this Super Vegeta can be in slot 2, but still get hit before he attacks because of the AoE, and then he's doing that big damage. So we'll see. I mean, he's definitely going to be more interesting for global players, I think, but I'm looking forward to seeing how well he does in the JP content. So I guess we'll wait and see, but shout out to Talas. We have another one from Drace, the $5 super chat. April Dokkan Fest exclusive is fusing Goten and Trunks with LR Bio Broly.
Honestly, that'd be fine too.
That'd be cool.
I think we need a new Gotenks. I mean, I think it would be really cool if we get an LR Gotenks for Tanabata. I know a lot of people wouldn't like that, but imagine LR Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks and then we get LR Kid Buu or something.
Yep.
Because I think Gotenks hasn't ever had an LR, right?
No.
We had the Goten and Trunks that fused into Gotenks.
Yeah, in the super attack, but that's it. Yeah.
But we never actually had an LR Gotenks before. I think Super Buu got an LR last time. I think Gotenks. I mean, it could be Bio Broly and LR Gotenks, right? I think Gotenks should get an LR though. I think
that'd be cool. Yeah,
I think he deserves one too.
Yeah, because the fact that we have people made that meme even when that unit came out, but we have a fusing Kale and Caulifla into Kefla, but we don't have a fusing Goten and Trunks into Gotenks.
Yeah, how?
So I think that would be quite interesting. And we haven't had a proper good standalone Gotenks for ages as well. We've got those units like the Int Gotenks and Tech Exchange Boo that need to Easy A. So yeah, new Gotenks coming out would definitely be pretty cool. I mean, Gotenks is not even by any stretch one of my favorite characters, but I do think Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. I love Super Saiyan 3 in general, right? But physical Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, I still look at his art and I'm like, man, That card was cool, but we need a new Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, so we'll see. But yeah, shout out to Drace. So then this is an interesting question for you guys. So we have Weeb of Class. Shout out to you for the $15 super chat. Which characters would you guys like to see come out for this year's Peppy Gals banner? So personal picks are Pride Trooper. Is it Kokote? I literally didn't know what her name was, the female Pride Trooper. Gine or God of Destruction Helez. That'd be an interesting one. Because yeah, I guess no one would have predicted Mamba, right? From
definitely not. No.
So what do you guys think? If you could pick one new Peppy Gals character to bring in on that,
I have two actually, but
I mean, but
I'll let you have
two
two
characters.
Days.
Right?
There is always two, but yeah, go on then, Theo. I'll let you have two. Hey, what are you thinking?
So, I think a more serious one, and then like more of a joke one would be kind of funny. Because I mean, like, I don't want to say Mamba's a joke, but like, who summoned him for Mamba? You know what I mean? Like, besides what the unit's kit is doing, who's like, oh, my favorite character, Mamba. I'm so excited. You know, like, I think one that could be kind of cool would be so I know someone in chat said Gine. I think Gine would actually be a fantastic pick as like the serious one, because people somehow, like, legitimately, how is it possible that we don't have a standalone Gine in the game? I have no idea. I mean, I know she doesn't fight, right? So like, I guess that's the reason why. Like, it's like, what would her super attack be? But you know, I think having a card of her would be really cool, because obviously, you know, she is a very like well-liked character, and I mean, it's Goku's mom, right? Like, how is there not a card of her in the game already?
Well, plus for Gine, you think about Bulla, right? Bulla just calls in Vegeta to attack, so Gine's super attack could just be Bardock coming in.
Yeah, calling in Bardock, that would be awesome. But what I think would be a funny joke card, now I don't even know if this like character has a name, to be honest with you, because I don't remember if they do or not. But do you remember, because you know, obviously I've for chat who's not aware, I've been watching through OG Dragon Ball. No, not Ranfan, although that would be
and she has that world tournament choice. SR, right?
She does that SR for some reason. No, there's this one girl that like Master Shen is like trolling Roshi when he figures out that it's him under the Jackie Chun disguise. And he's like, look over there, a peachy gal, and then it's this like girl who's built like a brick house that's standing in the audience. Like, I think that honestly that would be like a funny card, because I swear I have seen like that character in other Dragon Ball games before. I don't remember where, but I know I've definitely seen the character. Like, if it was in like Kakarot or in like something else, right? I've seen that character before, because they were like you know, there's like a you know, obviously in like, you know, the background there's a lot of characters that are just kind of like, you know, like throwaway designs, because obviously they're just sort of like NPC background characters, but that is one that like has an actual like unique design and a face. So I don't know, low-key I think that could be kind of funny for a card, so that would be my like non-serious pick. But yeah, I know it probably never happened, but I think it'd be kind of funny.
My thought is Kakunta and Rosie. They never had summonable cards before. And,
True,
you know, we got Ella Ribrianne last year, and you know, Ella Ribrianne.
Yeah, how do they? Well, because they're only free to play for their cards, right? Yeah.
Ella Ribrianne might not be like the best option by the time like they come back around, but maybe they could like have like, obviously they'll share a lot of links with them. Maybe they could have like some pretty good support. But I mean, I think them getting like summonable characters could be cool. I liked your idea with Gine a lot. I think Gine would work. Ranfan can get a card. I would just rather try to get like characters that haven't really gotten much representation. Even like a Great Saiyan 2.
Actually, I just realized it'd be a great character, considering superhero was the newest thing and people have been going crazy, is I guess it would have to be a type of thing like we just said with Gine and Bardock, or it'd have to be her and Piccolo, but Pan's teacher.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Dude, that would be a fire Peppy Gals card, where then, you know, you could have like Piccolo come in and attack or something like that. That would, or even like, I don't know, you could even have like, you know, the attack that Pan does on the Red Ribbon guy when he's like, hey, I'm here to pick you up, and then Pan just beats him up, right? That would be funny as like a tag in, so Pan's like defending your teacher. That would be awesome. Yeah.
Janet, that's it. Yeah, that'd be
Janet. Yeah, I knew she had a name. Yeah, that, because people love that character. People actually like have been like, I've seen so much fan art of her and Piccolo, so I think low key that would be fire. Whether you have like, or even like have Piccolo and Pan work together or something to defend her. I don't know, something like that. I think that would be funny. So that'd be sick.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. I think Ningen is definitely a good choice. I guess we could, because we only have the free to play one, right? Get the base, a new base 21. I think out of some of the options that we've gone over, I think those are pretty good. It's hard to pick like, when it comes to newer characters. You know, there's one, I don't know if she would be on Peppy Gals, because I was always surprised that we didn't get a unit in the game, even a free-to-play one, when Kakarot came out. But obviously there was that whole thing about the, like, old female member of the Ginyu Force.
Jace's sister.
Is it supposed to be his sister? Because, I was going to say she's red with... cousin. Because she's red with white hair, like Jace.
Her name starts with a B.
It's like Buntu or something like that.
I don't know. I really thought Jace's sister.
Bonyu, that's it. I really thought when Kakarot came out,
sure she's like from Jace's planet, but I don't
something
maybe.
like that. Yeah,
but
like
I really
relative
thought,
to Jace,
like when Kakarot came out and they showed her in promotional art, like that we would at least get a free to play unit or something for her in Dokkan, but we never got anything. So something like that maybe could be interesting. Cool. But Ginei I think is definitely a really good choice and would be on some good teams. Yeah. So. I think
she's just the same race, but that's really it.
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting one. So shout out to Weeb of Class. We shall, of course, wait and see what that will be. Always interesting choices. Like I say, no one would have predicted Mamba. So I guess we will see.
I still can't believe that, man.
They don't have to be in Peppy Gals, right? Because, like, for example, who came out? It was Pan. Pan is not Peppy Gals, right? And she was on one of those banners.
It's just like the girls' banner, basically.
Yeah, true. So shout out to Weaver Class. Then we have one from Jade Rex, the $2 super chat. Do you think Prime Battle LRs will get super easy A's?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, you do.
I think eventually, because they said Dokkan Fest and LRs. They never said anything about specifically summonable.
That is true. Yeah.
They didn't clarify, but I think it would be cool. But with how Super Easy work, I don't know, because this feels very tied to Extreme Z battles.
Yeah.
They did say that in the future, they said like for now, it's like Dokkan Fest and LR. So I assume like in the future, we could see Super Easy for characters that aren't Dokkan Fest LRs, right? So I would anticipate one day, like at least like those free-to-play LRs.
Oh, get dude, I've had the full mind blown, like the moment is... LR Prime Battle Goku, right? Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Super Saiyan Goku. Tech Super Saiyan Goku. The first Prime Battle LR. He's going to get his Super Easy A. And it's going to be a Super Extreme Z area. And you have to use the Easy A Super Strike units. Yes.
Because they just finished them all.
Yep, exactly. That's why they've Easy A'd them. Go back to the good old, you can only use Super Strike units for Prime Battle Goku. But it's the Easy A Super Strike.
That would be crazy.
To do the Super Extreme Z area. So that would actually be awesome.
Super Extreme Z area. I mean, literally, like, all they would have to do for that is just, like, make another stage.
Yep. Just
and
like
then have it
be Easy A. New difficulty stage.
And then just have it drop the medals.
Yep, exactly. Yep. That'd be super good.
That would not be that hard.
I think that'd be fine. I'd be cool with that.
Yeah, I could see that.
That'd be cool with that too.
Yeah,
for sure.
Nice. Well, I guess we'll wait and see. That's like we said, they do all have their Easy A's now, so maybe they will do something. That would be certainly very interesting. But shout out to Jade Rex. And then last but not least, we have one from Drace for the $2. Just says, Kefla really set a bar for Easy A's, my queen.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about, like, again, they probably did design her based around the fact that she's going to be coming out later on JP. But when you think about Bardock came out after her, technically, obviously on JP before Kefla. And then, of course, Super Vegeta is coming out on both versions, which means Super Vegeta for Global is a post-Kefla Easy A. And she's obviously very clearly better than both of them. So she certainly has set a new bar. I think we talked about this before. I don't expect every single new unit or every single new EZA to automatically come out and be number one, but it's always just jarring when there's such a big gap between them, right? Like, especially if you look at like Kefla and Bardock, right? They're not even in the same like stratosphere when you think about how good they are, which just seems odd. And if they did plan it in advance for making her a level where when she comes out on JP she'll still be good enough, then it just seems really odd. Like, why release her on global that early then, if that's the case? Because you're essentially just kind of like, you're essentially just gimping the response that every other EZA is going to get on global, because the global players got Kefla, and then every EZA they get after that, it's like, oh, why is this EZA so much worse than Kefla? So very, very strange. But yeah, she definitely is very good. She set a bar for sure. I guess now every EZA, I guess that is pretty much, she has set that bar, because every time an EZA gets announced now, the number one comment you see, like when Super Vegeta's got announced, is it's like, well, is he going to be as good as Kefla? So
Kefla, right.
Yeah,
I think it's good that they made Kefla as good as she was, right? Especially because on release she was a little like, she was good, but she was a little like wonky. So it's good that they made Kefla that good. So awesome.
But yeah, so that's it for the super chats, donos and everything for today's episode. So appreciate you guys, as always, helping to support the podcast. So yeah, shout out to everyone who contributed. Shout out to everyone who's here, of course, everyone who's listening to the VODs. Shout out to all of you out there who, just like some of us right now, are still grinding the World Tournament while checking out the podcast.
We are World Tournament.
I stopped the World Tournament grinding like a while ago.
I've just made it into the top 500, baby.
Let's go.
Nice. I'm only gonna gun for top 2K.
Yeah, and that's what my end goal is, but obviously I'll be doing a couple more streams, so I'll be live again tomorrow, 2 p.m. UK time, if people want to come out. So that is where's the time now? It's 10 p.m. UK, so we're talking 16? Is it 16 hours from now? So come out and grind the World Tournament with me. But yeah, shout out to everyone who helped support the podcast this week.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for stopping by. It has been a pleasure doing this podcast this week, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Have a good one.
See ya.